The evening air folds itself around you like a well-worn shawl, soft and heavy with the promise of rest. Listen closely, not with the busy ears that catalogue the day's demands, but with the inner ear that hears only the deep, resonant silence beneath the surface of sound. Perhaps you hear the distant sigh of traffic, or the gentle settling of your home, or maybe nothing at all, but the soft drumming of your own heart, a steady, faithful metronome marking the time of peace. Wherever you are, whatever sounds surround you, know that this moment is entirely yours, a sanctuary carved out of the hustle of yesterday and the demands of tomorrow. It is time to simply be, without agenda, without striving. Allow your shoulders to soften, releasing the burdens they have unconsciously carried since the morning light first touched the window pane. Let the tension drain from your jaw, that silent keeper of unspoken words and suppressed worries. Imagine that every exhale is a release, a letting go of tiny, sharp fragments of the day that might otherwise disturb the stillness. Inhale deeply, drawing in the cool, clean air, feeling it expand your ribs just slightly. And exhale, slow and complete, sinking just a little deeper into the supporting surface beneath you. This breath is a gift, a constant reminder that life unfolds right here, right now, in the space between the in-breath and the out-breath. We are not rushing anywhere. We are arriving exactly where we need to be, at the threshold of profound rest. Your mind may still hold echoes of conversation or lists yet to be completed, but treat these thoughts gently, like clouds drifting across a vast blue sky. You do not need to chase them or analyze them, merely observe their passing, knowing that their substance dissolves in the face of this quiet intention. We are preparing the field of your consciousness for the deep, nurturing sleep that restores the soul and sharpens the spirit. Settle now, fully and completely, into the cradle of the present moment. Find that perfect point of stillness, that sweet spot where effort ceases and grace begins. Allow your awareness to become soft and diffuse, like moonlight filtering through water, washing away the edges of the day, until all that remains is the simple, pure fact of your being here, resting, breathing, letting go. The earth holds you, the air sustains you, and the stillness awaits you, ready to receive every last drop of your waking worries. Sink further, trusting the inherent safety of this moment. If these whispers of stillness resonate within the quiet corners of your heart, if the rhythm of this piece feels like a welcome homecoming, I invite you to keep this channel open. Consider lightly tapping the subscribe button or offering a gentle affirmation through a like, so that we may continue to share this path toward deeper rest and inner clarity. It is a small, conscious act of choosing peace for yourself, allowing these meditative moments to find you easily whenever the need arises. There is no pressure, only the recognition that sometimes the quietest intentions yield the greatest rewards, weaving a tapestry of calm throughout your week. Your presence here is the true gift, and my sincere hope is that these words serve as a comforting bridge between the demands of the day and the deep restoration of the night. Let us now turn our attention fully inward, toward the exploration of that luminous core of being, which the ancient teachers called our Buddha nature. We begin our exploration tonight with a quiet journey to a secluded valley, where a clear, cold stream flows down from the high, silent mountains. In this valley lived a young student named Kōans, who had spent many years seeking enlightenment, yet always felt that the true, essential goodness he sought remained frustratingly just out of reach, like a reflection shimmering on moving water. Kōans was diligent, waking before dawn to meditate, enduring long fasts, and meticulously studying the ancient texts, but his heart remained clouded by a nagging sense of inadequacy, believing that he was somehow flawed or incomplete, a vessel forever leaking its potential. He saw the serene wisdom radiating from his teacher, the old monk Master Higan, and felt the vast, unbridgeable distance between their states of being, convinced that he must transform himself entirely, undergo a radical renovation to attain that luminous peace. One warm afternoon, burdened by this heavy striving, Kōan walked down to the bank of the river, the water murmuring its endless, gentle song of impermanence. He sat on a smooth, grey stone, watching the sunlight fracture on the surface of the moving water, feeling the cool mist rise around his ankles, a refreshing contrast to the heat of his mental effort. His mind was a whirl of self-criticism. I am not pure enough. I have not practiced hard enough. My heart is too easily distracted by worldly concerns. He picked up a handful of river stones, tossing them back into the current, watching the fleeting ripples spread and disappear into the vastness of the river's flow. As he reached into the icy water again, his fingers brushed against something unusually smooth and dense, cold, with the deep chill of the mountain spring, unlike the common slate or granite of the riverbed. He pulled it out, wiping away the slick layer of mud and algae that clung to it, a coating that obscured its true form. In his palm lay a stone of remarkable clarity, perfectly faceted by nature's slow grinding, catching the harsh afternoon light and scattering it into 1,000 points of brilliant, concentrated color. It was a raw diamond, perhaps small, but unmistakably genuine, likely washed down from some hidden seam high in the distant, snow-capped mountains over centuries. Its surface was marred only by a thin, tenacious layer of river grime and dried silt that had accumulated over long ages of being rolled and settled in the murky depths. Kōan turned the diamond over and over, marveling at the intense light trapped within its crystalline structure, recognizing the immense, inherent value beneath the dull, earthbound exterior. He took it back to the monastery, excited by his discovery, and presented the stone to Master Higan, who was quietly sweeping the courtyard with slow, deliberate strokes. The master paused his sweeping, his eyes crinkling at the corners like old parchment as he examined the muddy gem held in Kōan's trembling hand. "Ah, Kōan," Master Higan said, his voice like the slow, steady drip of water from a deep, hidden spring. "You have found something very old and very true. Ai vei." Kōan nodded eagerly. "Master, look how dull the outside is. It is covered in the river's dirt. I must clean it, polish it, maybe cut it differently, to truly reveal its worth and make it shine as it ought." The master smiled softly, placing the diamond back into Kōan's palm, letting the cold weight settle there. "Tell me, Kōan, when you clean this stone, are you changing it, or are you merely revealing what has always been there, untouched by time or circumstance?" Kōan paused, considering the heavy weight of the question and the light weight of the stone, the paradox settling in his mind. "I am revealing it, Master. The core is already perfect, already structured for light. The diamond itself does not become more diamond-like through my effort. It merely becomes visible, its true nature uncovered." Master Higan gently tapped the spot just above Kōan's heart, a touch as light as a falling leaf. "Precisely so, and this, my earnest student, is the great misconception of those who seek enlightenment through endless, harsh striving. You believe that the Buddha nature, that core of limitless compassion, perfect clarity, and inherent peace is something you must achieve, something you must build from scratch through relentless, exhausting effort," the master continued, his tone profoundly gentle, like the turning of the tide. "You see the dirt of your day-to-day, mind the anger, the jealousy, the fear, the distraction, and you believe that you are that dirt. You confuse the temporary accumulation of silt with the eternal, immutable substance of the gem, its salve. He returned to his sweeping, the rhythmic swish-swish of the bamboo broom, creating a soft, hypnotic meditation in the afternoon heat. The practice is not about becoming a diamond. The practice is about washing away the mud. The diamond is already present, already perfect, already radiant. It has been there since the day you were born, and it will remain there, undisturbed by the currents and turmoil of life. Kōan stood transfixed, the diamond feeling suddenly warm and pulsing with latent energy in his hand, a tangible truth. So, Master, all my striving, all my fasts and long meditations, are they useless if the goal is already here? Not useless, but perhaps misdirected, the Master corrected, laying the broom aside. They are useful tools for the washing, the settling of the stirred water, but dangerous if they become a source of judgment. If you believe the diamond needs you to make it beautiful, your heart becomes heavy with the weight of that impossible task, and you mistake the washing for the creation. Your true task is one of recognition, not construction. It is realizing that the perfection you seek is not a future state earned by superhuman effort, but a present reality, merely obscured by habit, fear, and the conditioning of attachment. He emphasized the word revealing, letting the simple power of the concept settle into the quiet air between them. When you sit in meditation, you are not trying to create peace or force clarity. You are simply allowing the natural, intrinsic peace of the diamond heart to become visible again, layer by layer, as the turbulence of thought and emotion settles to the bottom of the vessel. This teaching dissolved Kōan's years of striving into a simple, profound truth. He was not flawed, he was merely dusty, coated by the world's passing debris. He spent the rest of the evening gently cleaning the diamond, using only soft cloth and pure water, watching the increasing brilliance with every careful wipe, recognizing the ease of the task once its true nature was understood. He did not need to chisel the stone, heat it, or rearrange its molecular structure. He just needed to clean it, to reveal what was already complete. Now, let us turn this metaphor inward, applying the monk's teaching to the silent landscape of your own resting mind, allowing the wisdom of Kōan's discovery to soothe your own striving heart. The Buddha nature is often described not as a religious dogma, but as a recognition of the fundamental, luminous purity of consciousness itself, the inherent brilliance that cannot be diminished by circumstance. It is the innate capacity for goodness, the unconditional potential for wisdom, and the irreducible core of wholeness that resides within every single being, without exception, regardless of their history or current state. Imagine your consciousness not just as the river, but as the great ocean. Sometimes the surface of the ocean is turbulent and storm-tossed, whipped into white foam by the winds of external events or internal stress. The waves crash, the water is opaque with spray, and the experience is one of chaos and fear. But if you could sink far beneath that surface turbulence, down into the profound depths, you would find a silence and stillness so immense that the surface storms cannot even be felt. This deep, silent layer, eternally calm and undisturbed, is your Buddha nature. The waves are merely the temporary conditions of the surface, caused by the friction between the air and the water. They are real, they are powerful, but they are not the totality of the ocean. Your true nature, the diamond within, remains in the deep, completely untouched by the crashing waves of daily worry or temporary sadness. It is the understanding that your worth is not dependent on your achievements, your relationships, or your perceived failures. It is a quality of being, not a result of doing. Sink now into the realization that you do not need to earn your peace tonight. You do not need to deserve your rest or prove your goodness. You are already complete, already the perfect diamond, even with the mud clinging to your edges and the waves crashing on the surface of your day. This is a profoundly comforting truth, particularly as you prepare for sleep, that deep release where all pretense and all striving must fall away, leaving only the essential self. The exhaustion you sometimes feel at the end of the day is often not just physical fatigue, but the weariness of constantly trying to improve a self that was never broken to begin with. It is the labor of trying to construct a diamond when you only need to rinse it off and allow its light to be seen. Let the relief of this truth wash over you now, like the gentle, soothing current of that mountain stream Kalen found. You are not a project that needs completion. You are a radiant presence awaiting recognition. Think of the times when genuine compassion spontaneously arose within you, a moment of unexpected kindness, offered without expectation, an unprompted act of generosity that felt effortless, or a flash of deep, aching empathy for another's suffering. These moments are not manufactured by sheer will. They are glimpses of the diamond shining through the momentary gaps in the mud, pure and unbidden. They are your true nature asserting itself, a reminder that the core of your being is fundamentally oriented toward connection, compassion, and goodness. The practice of peaceful rest, the simple act of lying down and allowing the mind to cease its effortful spinning, is the most direct way to reveal this inner diamond. It is the intentional settling of the silt, the conscious choosing of the deep, still layer of the ocean. When you choose not to engage with the planning, the worrying, or the rehashing of the day's trivialities, you are simply allowing the natural law of spiritual gravity to take effect on your consciousness. The turbulence slows, the thoughts sink, the clarity rises, effortlessly. We mistakenly identify the experience of suffering, the fear, the anxiety, the jealousy, as a permanent stain on our character, when in fact, suffering is merely the friction caused by the diamond trying to shine through the heavy coating of conditioning and inaccurate self-perception. It is the intense light struggling to escape the grime and reveal its truth. Master Hagen understood that the greatest obstacle to peace is the deeply ingrained belief that peace must be earned, purchased, or manufactured through sheer force of will. He knew that the moment Kalen recognized the diamond was already perfect, Kalen's practice would shift irrevocably from heavy, despairing labor to joyful, simple unveiling. Your sleep tonight is an act of profound unveiling. Let go of the need for self-improvement just for these precious hours. Accept yourself, fully and totally, as the beautiful, perfect, slightly muddy diamond you are right now, in this bed, in this stillness. The world can wait for your refined, polished self. It will still be there tomorrow. Your deep self requires only acceptance and the gentle permission to rest in its inherent wholeness. Feel the weight of this radical acceptance settle over your entire body, releasing the last stubborn pockets of resistance in your hips, your lower back, and the small muscles around your chest. There is nothing to fix, nothing to change, and nowhere else to go. There is only the settling. Consider the diamond's long journey. It was formed deep within the Earth's crucible, under immense pressure and unimaginable heat, a geological process that took eons to complete. It was then torn from its original context, carried by violent water, tumbled repeatedly by rough rocks, and finally came to rest in the soft, quiet silt of the riverbed. The diamond did not resist the journey. It was simply subject to the irresistible forces of nature, remaining itself throughout. Your Buddha nature, your true self, has likewise endured the pressures of life, the joys and the sorrows, the successes that brought temporary pride, and the disappointments that brought fleeting shame. These events have not changed its fundamental structure, its crystalline purity, but they have coated it in the temporary silt of memory, trauma, and reactive emotion. We engage in the practice of rest now, the gentle unveiling, through a simple, repetitive breath awareness, our own slow, rhythmic washing. Inhale deeply, imagining the breath is a gentle, warm current washing over the surface of the diamond heart. Exhale slowly, feeling the tiny flecks of worry, resentment, or anxiety being loosened and gently carried away by the outward flow. In, the breath cleanses and nourishes. Out, the silt departs and the heart softens. Do not try to force the cleanliness or demand the light. Simply allow the washing to occur naturally in the rhythm of your relaxed breathing. The diamond does not struggle to shine. It simply is light, the inherent nature of its being. Similarly, your mind does not need to struggle to be peaceful. It simply is peace, once the restless noise and effort are allowed to subside. Let the sounds around you, if there are any, become part of the washing process, the natural background hum of the world continuing its motion. The distant siren, the hum of the refrigerator, the creak of the house settling, these are merely the sounds of the river carrying its surface debris. They are external, temporary, and cannot by their nature touch the core luminosity within you. This innate goodness means that even when you feel lost, when you are consumed by anger, or when you act in a way that is profoundly unkind, the potential for goodness remains completely intact, awaiting the moment of release. The clouds may obscure the sun for days on end, creating darkness on the ground, but they do not diminish the sun's massive power or its eternal existence. They are merely temporary, atmospheric phenomena passing across an eternal light source that is always shining. Resting in your Buddha nature means resting in the sun, knowing that the light is there, regardless of the clouds currently overhead in the mind. Imagine Kalen, now, sitting beside the river as the darkness deepens, not striving to meditate or attain anything, but simply holding the clean diamond, watching it refract the moon's pale, silvery light. His practice changed entirely from frantic effort to simple, quiet appreciation of what was already true. He recognized the profound truth that the work of the spirit is often less about laborious acquisition and more about humble, thankful appreciation. Tonight, we appreciate the quiet, resilient goodness inherent within us. We appreciate the capacity of the mind to settle and release its hold on the day's concerns. We appreciate the body's deep wisdom in seeking and accepting rest. Allow your awareness to drift down now into your hands and your feet, the furthest points of your physical self. Are they relaxed? Do they feel heavy, warm, and profoundly still? This heaviness, this warmth, is the body responding gratefully to the realization of no striving. It is the physical manifestation of the diamond being relieved of the mud, the muscles releasing their unnecessary grip. The muscles, which are so often tense because they are waiting for the next task or bracing against the next perceived threat, can finally soften into the understanding that, for this moment, there is no threat. The true threat was the internal misconception of inadequacy and the relentless need to prove worth. The truth is the radical, immediate, acceptance of completeness. We often seek perfection outside ourselves, thinking that a different environment, a different relationship, or a different schedule will somehow make us whole and worthy of peace. But the wholeness resides where the diamond resides, at the deep, unchangeable core of your consciousness. The external world, like the river, can only add temporary coating. It cannot alter the essential, luminous substance of who you are. As you drift deeper toward the threshold of sleep, let this affirmation become the final, conscious thought of your conscious day, a quiet mantra of release. I am fundamentally good. I am inherently whole. I am already enough. Repeat this affirmation silently, breathing it in and breathing it out, letting the words vibrate gently through your relaxing frame, sinking into the truth of the statement. I am fundamentally good. I am inherently whole. I am already enough. This is not an act of ego or arrogance. This is simply acknowledging the unchangeable reality of your Buddha nature, the diamond truth. It is the truth that sets the mind free from the ceaseless, exhausting cycle of self-criticism, comparison, and relentless effort. Imagine a soft, golden light beginning to glow from the very center of your chest, radiating outwards in slow, comforting waves, gently dissolving any remaining shadows of doubt or fear clinging to the edges of your mind. This light is the warmth and brilliance of the cleaned diamond, shining effortlessly now that the covering has been released. It illuminates the path into deep, restorative sleep, a sleep where the mind continues the work of purification without your conscious effort or intervention. For the duration of the night, the universe takes over, the washing, the settling, and the restoration. You are safe, you are held, you are light. Sink further now, allowing yourself the deep comfort of knowing that the most perfect and beautiful part of you is already present, waiting patiently for the temporary covering to dissolve entirely in the gentle, cleansing tide of rest. We let go of the tiller, surrendering completely to the current of sleep, knowing that the destination is peace itself, the home of the diamond heart. The river of consciousness flows onward, clear and deep, carrying you gently into the quiet, nourishing dark, where only completeness dwells. Embrace the beautiful ease of simply resting in your true nature. Let the final thought be one of profound acceptance, dissolving all remaining tension from your forehead and the small space behind your eyes. You are not moving toward peace, you are dissolving into it. The diamond is shining. Rest now. Let us breathe now, settling into the quiet space that follows the deep focus on the simple act of inhaling and exhaling, that gentle rhythm we have just observed. We have found a brief sanctuary in the present moment, a stillness that feels solid, yet even this stillness, beautiful as it is always moving, always yielding to the next breath, the next soft pulse of time. The quiet realization that arises from true presence is the understanding that nothing, not even the deepest calm, remains exactly as it is from one second to the next. It is here, in this recognition of constant flow, that we meet the profound wisdom of impermanence, the subtle truth that everything we touch, see, and feel is gently transforming, like mist dissolving into the morning sun. Rest your awareness upon this concept, not with fear, but with a deep, soothing sense of acceptance, allowing the knowledge of change to cradle you like a boat rocking softly on an ocean swell. In the mountains of ancient Japan, where the air was scented with pine and the slow smoke of kilns, lived a master potter named Isara, whose hands knew the clay better than his own memory. Isara was renowned not for the perfection of his vessels, but for their spirit, Each bowl held the story of the earth from which it came and the fire that shaped it, bearing the elegant scars of transformation. Beside him worked his earnest apprentice, Kylo, a young man whose heart was filled with a fiery passion for beauty, but whose mind was tormented by the desire for lasting form. Kylo would labor for days over a single piece, striving to create a bowl so flawless, so perfectly symmetrical and thin, that it might exist forever, untouched by time or flaw. He sought permanence in the mud, a goal Izara watched with quiet, knowing sadness. Kylo's energy was often tense, his shoulders hunched over the spinning wheel as he fought the clay, demanding that it hold still, demanding that it obey his vision of eternal perfection. He would often destroy a piece moments before completion, seeing a microscopic wobble or a barely perceptible thinning of the wall, convinced that if it was not perfect, it was worthless and doomed to decay. One cool evening, the scent of wet earth heavy in the workshop, Kylo was working on a large ceremonial vase, a piece of such delicate grace that Izara himself had paused to admire the emerging form. Kylo's brow was furrowed, his breath held tight in his chest as he coaxed the last centimeter of clay upward, stretching it to an impossible, ethereal height. "It must be perfect," he muttered to the clay. "It must be strong enough to last 1,000 years." Izara slowly approached the wheel, his movements gentle and deliberate, like falling snow. He did not speak immediately, but dipped his fingers into the bowl of water and, with the utmost tenderness, touched the side of the spinning vase. The smallest, softest deviation occurred, a slight, almost imperceptible waver in the line. Kylo gasped, pulling his hands away as if burned, his work ruined in his eyes. "Master, why? It was almost there. Now it is flawed, destined to collapse in the kiln, or shatter upon the first touch," Kylo lamented, his voice tight with frustration and defeat. Izara placed his hand upon Kylo's shoulder, a reassuring weight. "Kylo, my young friend," he said, his voice a low, soothing hum, "you fight the very nature of the earth. The clay knows transformation. It desires to flow, to yield, to change its state. Why do you wish to imprison it in a moment of stasis?" He pointed to a small, nearly invisible crack beginning to form at the vase's base, a result of the tension Kylo had imposed. "See how it resists your insistence on forever. This crack is not a flaw, but a message. I am changing now." Kylo looked at the vessel, his masterpiece suddenly appearing tragic, a monument to a brief moment of beauty that was already slipping away. He felt a deep, wrenching pain, the pain of attachment to a thing that was always meant to pass. Izara then took a small, perfectly formed tea bowl from the shelf, a piece that Kylo had completed weeks ago and considered his finest work. It was beautiful, symmetrical, and exactly what Kylo believed true pottery should be. Izara held the bowl up to the dim lantern light, turning it slowly. "This is lovely, Kylo. You gave it life, form, and purpose." And then, with a calm and utterly detached movement, Izara let the bowl slip from his fingers onto the stone floor. The sound was sharp and immediate, a crystalline shattering that echoed in the quiet room. Kylo cried out, a sound of genuine agony, as if a part of his own heart had broken. The tea bowl was instantly transformed into a collection of sharp, disparate pieces, its perfect circularity gone forever. Kylo stared at the fragments, tears stinging his eyes. "Master, how could you? That was the best piece I have ever made. It was meant to be used, to be cherished," he choked out, his voice thick with grief. Izara knelt slowly, gathering the pieces with reverence, placing them on the low wooden table. "Cherished, yes, Used, certainly, but meant to last is a story we tell ourselves that causes this very pain, Kylo, O life. He touched a curved shard, its edge still gleaming with the applied glaze. Look closely. Is the beauty truly gone, or has it simply taken a different form? Kylo had to admit, gazing at the sharp, unexpected angles, that the beauty of the glaze, the depth of the color, and the craftsmanship were still present in each fragment, perhaps even more vividly, now that they were separated from the expectation of the whole. Isara continued, his voice soft, almost a lullaby. The life of the bowl was not in its static completion, but in its journey. It was earth, then mud, then form, then fired strength, then a vessel, and now it is these many small memories. He selected one piece, a curve that fit neatly into the palm of his hand. If you had never become attached to the idea of its permanence, this moment of breakage would simply be a change, not a catastrophe. You attach your heart, not to the clay, but to the illusion of its unchanging existence. The master spent the rest of the night carefully examining the broken pieces, and then he began a slow, deliberate process of repair. Using the ancient Japanese art of kintsugi, he did not attempt to hide the damage, but instead, he used a shimmering lacquer mixed with fine gold powder to bind the fragments back together. Each crack, each line of fracture was not erased, but highlighted, transformed into veins of pure gold, tracing the story of the vessel's transformation. Kylo watched, mesmerized, as the broken bowl was reborn, stronger and infinitely more fascinating than its original form. The golden lines were proof of its fragility, its history, and its willingness to change, a visual testament to impermanence. When the process was complete, the bowl was a breathtaking thing, its former flawless symmetry replaced by a web of golden light. Isara placed the repaired bowl in Kylo's hands. "This," he whispered, "is the reality we must embrace. Everything is already broken, Kylo, in the sense that everything is moving toward change and dissolution. The moment you finished the pot, it began its journey toward this state. Your life, your thoughts, this breath you are taking now, it is all subject to the same golden repair. Do not mourn the change. Celebrate the journey that the change reveals. The value of the bowl is precisely because it is temporary. Its beauty is magnified by the knowledge that its current form is fleeting." This lesson settled deeply within the apprentice, softening the rigid tension in his spirit. He began to see the imperfections in his new pots, not as failures, but as the points where the clay had spoken its truth about flow and transformation. He understood that clinging to the perfect form was resisting life itself, which is nothing more than continuous movement. Let this story of the potter and the golden repair settle into your consciousness now, dissolving the edges of any resistance you may feel to the inevitable shifts in your own life. We often expend vast amounts of energy trying to halt the inevitable, much like Kylo trying to freeze the clay into a static eternity. But when we embrace change, when we see the cracks not as damage, but as opportunities for golden repair, we find a profound, liberating peace. The teaching about embracing change is simple, yet revolutionary. Nothing in the universe is fixed. Therefore, our clinging to any particular moment, feeling, or identity is the root of our suffering. Think of the river that flows outside the village. You can step into the river at noon, and a few minutes later, step into the same geographical location, but it is no longer the same water, nor are you the same person who stepped in before. Everything is in transit. This understanding dismantles the illusion of solidity. Your body, which feels so solid and present right now as you rest, is a constantly changing ecosystem of cells being born and dying, breathing in and breathing out, regenerating and renewing. The body you take to sleep tonight is subtly different from the one that wakes in the morning. This is not a cause for anxiety, but a reason for deep wonder. The universe is an endless flow of creation and uncreation, a magnificent dance of becoming. If you resist the flow, you are trying to hold water in your fist. You expend immense effort only to find your hand empty and your spirit exhausted. But if you open your palm and allow the water to pass through, you experience the refreshing coolness without the burden of ownership. Embracing change means relinquishing the tyranny of expectation. We expect that the joy we feel tonight must be replicated tomorrow, or that the pain we felt yesterday will return today. Both expectations are forms of clinging to a past or future that no longer exists. True acceptance of impermanence means acknowledging that every state, every mood, every relationship, every season is naturally unfolding into its opposite or its successor. Like the light outside your window that shifts from twilight to the deep velvet of night, there is a natural, unforced surrender inherent in the universe's structure. Allowing things to change is simply aligning yourself with reality. It is the most restful posture for the soul. Imagine now that your thoughts are clouds drifting across the wide, blue expanse of your mind. Some are dark and turbulent, bringing the feeling of rain or worry. Others are light and wispy, carrying happy memories or pleasant ideas. If you try to grab a cloud and hold it, insisting that it stay exactly where it is, you will only grasp thin air, and you will miss the ever-shifting beauty of the entire sky. Embracing change means watching the clouds pass, knowing that the dark ones will dissipate and the light ones will transform, without attaching judgment or permanence to any one formation. This moment of quiet rest will pass, but the capacity for quiet rest remains. The sensation of warmth in your blanket will change, but the possibility of comfort persists. Everything cycles, everything evolves. Consider the profound implications of impermanence in the realm of your own emotional landscape. When a strong emotion arises, perhaps a wave of sadness or a spike of restlessness, we often panic, believing that this intense feeling is a permanent feature of our being. We might tell ourselves, "I am a sad person," or "I will always feel anxious." But impermanence reminds us that emotions are merely visitors. They arrive fully formed, stay for a while, and then, without exception, they begin to recede, yielding to the next emotional tide. If you can greet the emotion with the quiet recognition, "Ah, sadness is here now," rather than, "I am sadness," you loosen the grip of attachment, allowing the visitor to leave when its time is done. This practice transforms suffering into observation. Take a moment to reflect on the nature of relationships in the light of impermanence. People in our lives are constantly changing, growing, and shifting their perspectives, just as we are. Sometimes, we try to hold on to the person they were 5 years ago, clinging to a fixed image, and this rigidity causes friction and pain when they inevitably grow in a direction we didn't anticipate. The beauty of a relationship that honors impermanence is that it celebrates the unfolding journey of the other person, welcoming the new version of them that arrives each day. It is a continuous, gentle rediscovery, much like the slow erosion of a stone by water. The shape changes, but the contact remains deep and resonant. Allow your heart to open to the possibility that every interaction, every shared moment is precious, precisely because it will never happen in exactly the same way again. Think now of the simple things in your daily life that demonstrate this constant flow. The food you eat nourishes you for a time and then transforms into energy and substance before passing away. The light that streams through the window moves across the floor, changing angles and intensity with every passing minute until the sun sets and the light is gone entirely. Even the most solid structures, the ancient stones of temples or the hard metal of machines, are slowly oxidizing, yielding to entropy, moving toward their next state of existence. This truth is woven into the very fabric of existence, a gentle, reliable promise of renewal. We are surrounded by teachers of impermanence, if only we quiet our minds enough to listen. The decay of a fallen leaf returns nutrients to the soil, fueling the growth of the next spring's blossom. Death feeds life, loss provides space for new growth, and ending is merely a transition to beginning. This perspective invites us to live more fully in the present, realizing that every second is a non-renewable resource. If the potter Kylo had focused less on the vase lasting 1,000 years and more on the exquisite curve he was shaping right now, his time at the wheel would have been filled with joy, not tension. We can apply this wisdom to our own evening ritual. Let go of the worries of tomorrow, because the you who faces tomorrow will be a slightly different, rested version of yourself, equipped to handle whatever arises. Let go of the regrets of today, for that day is already dissolving into the past, its lessons absorbed, its moments complete. There is only this weightless, timeless boundary between day and night, between wakefulness and deep rest. The great wisdom of impermanence is that it creates space. If we tightly grip every experience, every possession, every person, our hands are always full and our spirit cannot receive anything new. By acknowledging that things are passing, we voluntarily loosen our grip, creating space for the next beautiful unfolding to occur. Imagine holding a closed fist, knuckles white with the effort of clinging. Now, slowly, deliberately, relax the muscles in your hand. Unfurl your fingers, allowing the palm to turn upwards, receptive and open. This open hand is the posture of one who understands impermanence, ready to receive, ready to release, entirely at peace with the flow. As you lie here, resting deeply, let us engage in a final meditative passage, integrating the understanding of change into your body. Bring your attention once more to the breath, the most tangible and immediate example of impermanence in action. The inhale is a beginning, a moment of fullness and intake. But this fullness cannot be held. It must immediately yield to the exhale. The exhale is a release, a moment of letting go and emptying. But this emptiness is instantly followed by the necessity of the inhale. The breath never stays the same, never clings to the inhale, and never resists the exhale. It is the perfect teacher of constant, effortless transformation. Feel the gentle rise of your chest and abdomen as the air flows in, a moment of presence, fully realized. And then, feel the slow, inevitable fall as the air flows out, a complete letting go. Inhale, becoming. Exhale, releasing. Each breath is a small cycle of birth and death, a miniature life lived and completed. Allow the rhythm to become your sole focus, allowing every thought that arises to simply dissolve on the next outbreath. You do not need to hold on to them. They are only temporary visitors. You do not need to resist them. They will pass naturally. Relax your forehead, releasing the tension of thoughts that try to solidify the passing moment. Relax your jaw, letting go of the words you might have wished to say, or the conversations that are now complete. Relax your shoulders, shedding the weight of expectations and the illusion of control. This body is temporary, this moment is temporary, this light is temporary, but the peace you cultivate by accepting this truth is eternal. Trust the flow. Trust the constant, gentle breaking and reforming, the golden repair that binds all of life together. Rest now in the knowledge that everything is changing and everything is exactly as it should be. Sleep deeply, surrendered to the peaceful rhythm of impermanence. The air around you has softened now, hasn't it? The edges of the day begin to dissolve, and the insistent sounds of the world outside your window seem to recede, muffled by this deepening quietude we share. We are not rushing anywhere tonight. There is only this moment, this gentle space carved out from the endless flow of time. Let us breathe into this stillness, noticing how the simple act of conscious awareness can transform the ordinary into something sacred, something profoundly restful. This evening, we turn our attention to the exquisite simplicity of mindfulness, the gentle art of being fully present without judgment. It is in this quiet awareness that true rest begins, a deep, restorative peace that settles not just in the body, but in the heart and mind. We begin our journey into seeing things exactly as they are. In the high mountains, where the mist clung to the ancient pines like wisps of forgotten dreams, lived a young monk named Jin. Jin was a diligent student, mastering the sutras and the rigorous routines of the monastery with a focused intensity that impressed the elder monks. Yet, there was an underlying restlessness in him, a subtle tension that he could not release. Even in the deepest meditation, he strove for perfection in everything, believing that enlightenment was something to be earned through flawless execution. One day, the master called Jin to his side. The master was ancient, his face etched with the silent history of countless sunrises, and his eyes held the deep, calm clarity of a mountain lake. He did not speak of sutras or meditation forms. Instead, he presented Jin with a simple gift, a small, rough clay cup. "This cup," the master said, his voice a low rustle like autumn leaves, "was made by the hands of the villagers in the valley. It is imperfect, as all things made of earth are. Its color is uneven, and the rim tilts slightly. It is yours to hold and to use, Jin, for the purpose of drinking the morning tea." Jin received the cup carefully. He thought it was plain, perhaps a little crude, especially compared to the finely glazed porcelain used by the elder monks. But because it came from the master, Jin treated it with the utmost reverence. He washed it meticulously after every use, drying it with a soft cloth and placing it back on his small shelf with precision. As weeks turned into months, Jin's careful handling became an obsession. He realized that this simple cup had become the anchor of his daily awareness practice. Every movement he made near it was slow, deliberate, cautious. If another monk came near his shelf, Jin would subtly shift his body to shield the precious vessel. He began to notice that his attachment to the cup was growing faster than his detachment from the world. He admired the faint swirl marks left by the potter's thumb, and he loved the warm, earthy smell it carried when filled with steamed tea. The cup was becoming more than an object. It was becoming his stability, his perfect little piece of monastery life. The subtle tension in Jin increased. He was meditating on non-attachment, yet clinging fiercely to a piece of fired clay. The irony was not lost on him, but the fear of its breaking was greater than the desire for true release. What would the breakage signify? Failure? A lack of vigilance? A profound personal loss? One afternoon, a sudden, fierce gust of wind blew through the open window of the dormitory. Jin was returning from the communal hall. He saw the cup teetering on the edge of the high shelf, propelled by the unseen force of the mountain air. A gasp caught in his throat. In that microsecond, time seemed to stretch and slow. He saw the trajectory. The cup would fall onto the stone floor, shattering into irreparable pieces. All his careful stewardship, all his practice of preservation, would be undone. The fear was sharp and painful, a physical clutch in his stomach. But just as his hand shot out in a desperate attempt to catch it, a deeper memory surfaced. The master's voice, quiet and clear. It is yours to hold and to use. And beneath that, the foundational teaching, all composite things decay. Jin hesitated, not because he gave up, but because, for the first time, he truly saw the clay cup. He saw the clay before it was fired, the water that mixed it, the earth from which it came, and the dust it was destined to become. It was not a permanent fixture of his existence. It was merely passing through. His hand froze mid-air. He did not stop the fall, nor did he frantically attempt to save it. Instead, he simply watched. He bore witness to the event. The cup struck the stone floor with a sharp, clean sound, a loud crack followed by the tinkling scatter of shards. Silence descended immediately afterward, a vast, echoing silence. Jin stood above the fragments, his breathing steady. The moment of breakage, which he had dreaded for months, had come and gone. The world had not ended. The sun still shone through the window. The wind still whispered through the pines. He looked down at the pieces. There was a faint scent of old tea and dust. He felt a moment of sadness. Yes, a recognition of loss, but it was light, unburdened. There was no self-recrimination, no anger at the wind, and no bitter disappointment. There was only the simple fact: the cup has broken. Later that evening, the master found Jin sweeping the fragments onto a small dustpan. Jin did not hide the shards or offer excuses. He simply continued his task with the same quiet diligence he used for all chores. The master watched him for a long time, his eyes twinkling in the dim evening light. "Jin," he finally said, "did you notice?" "Notice what, master?" Jin replied, gently brushing the last dust speck from the stone. "Did you notice," the master reiterated, "that when the cup was whole, it was already broken?" Jin paused. The dustpan held still. He turned this phrase over in his mind. When the cup was whole, it was already broken. He realized that his fear, his tension, his excessive care had all stemmed from ignoring the fundamental nature of the cup. Its wholeness was temporary, a fleeting state between creation and destruction. His attachment had been to an illusion of permanence. "Yes, master," Jin whispered, a wave of understanding washing over him. "I see now. My awareness was focused on preservation, not on presence. I was living in the future fear of loss, rather than the present use of the object." The master nodded slowly, satisfied. Mindfulness, Jin, is not about perfecting the object. It is about perfecting your relationship to the object. It is seeing the cup for what it truly is: earth, water, fire, and air, temporarily arranged in a usable form, destined to return to its elements. When you acknowledge the impermanence of the thing, its breaking causes no shock, only observation. Jin understood that the true lesson was not in protecting the cup, but in protecting the peace of his own mind. He had been taught the hard truth that awareness means acknowledging the temporary nature of all things: our possessions, our bodies, our relationships, even our thoughts. He swept the fragments into a small leather pouch, intending to scatter them back into the earth from which they came. The weight in the pouch was negligible, but the weight lifted from his spirit was vast. He had traded the burden of attachment for the lightness of awareness. The fear had shattered along with the clay. This story of Jin and the clay cup is a soft invitation to us now. As we rest here in the quiet, it asks us to consider where we might be clinging to the whole cup, and how that clinging creates the tension that prevents true rest. Let the impermanence of the day, the worries that arose, and the tasks left undone be seen exactly as they are, temporary arrangements, like mist gathering on a pane of glass. They are not solid, they are not permanent, they are simply passing through. Now, let us turn that gentle awareness inward, toward the subtle currents of the mind itself. The mind, especially as we settle down for sleep, can often feel like a fast-flowing river, carrying debris, memories, plans, and anxieties. This mental chatter is perhaps the most difficult cup we try to hold on to, or conversely, desperately try to push away. When we lie down, seeking quiet, the mind sometimes takes this as an opportunity to amplify its activity. We try to grab the thoughts, examine them, judge them, or demand that they cease entirely. But just as Jin could not stop the wind that pushed the cup, we cannot simply command the thinking process to stop. The practice of awareness teaches us a profound shift in perspective. We are not the thoughts themselves. We are the spacious awareness that observes the thoughts. Imagine that your mind is the vast, dark sky of a peaceful night. The thoughts are merely clouds passing across that sky. Some clouds are dark and heavy, these are the worries, the regrets, the heavy decisions. Some are light and fluffy, these are the pleasant memories, the gentle daydreams. Mindfulness invites you simply to notice the clouds. You do not need to climb onto them and ride them away. You do not need to analyze their shape or their moisture content. You certainly do not need to judge the sky for having clouds. The sky remains the sky, vast and unchanging, regardless of what drifts through it. When a thought arises, perhaps a worry about tomorrow's schedule, or a sudden memory of an embarrassing moment, do not engage with its content immediately. Instead, apply the gentle lens of awareness. Simply say, internally, without judgment, "Ah, a thought about the schedule," or "that is a memory." This simple act of naming is revolutionary. It creates a small, crucial space between the awareness, you, and the thought, the object. It allows you to step back from being the actor trapped within the mental drama and become the peaceful observer seated in the audience. The goal is not to eliminate the thoughts. Trying to fight the mind is like trying to flatten the waves of the ocean with your hands. It only creates more turbulence and frustration. Instead, we practice the art of letting them flow. When you observe a thought, you are acknowledging its presence, granting it momentary recognition, and then gently releasing it, allowing it to continue its journey down the river of the mind without your personal engagement. Notice how thoughts, like the clay cup, are composite and impermanent. A thought is merely a temporary arrangement of words, concepts, and images. It has no solid, enduring reality. It is a passing neurological event. If a persistent thought arises, one that seems particularly loud or sticky, try treating it like a curious, harmless visitor. You can acknowledge it with kindness, perhaps offering a small, silent bow. "Hello, worry about the upcoming deadline. I see you are here. Rest now. We will tend to you in the daylight." By offering this gentle acceptance, you strip the thought of its power to command your attention and drain your energy. It cannot hold you hostage if you refuse to give it ammunition. This practice requires patience and persistent gentleness. The mind is habituated to clinging, to dissecting, to solving. It will naturally try to draw you back into the narrative. When you find yourself accidentally caught up in a story the mind is weaving, simply notice it. "Ah, I was caught in the story about the deadline. and return your anchor of awareness to the breath. The breath is always present, always now, and always reliable. It is the perfect antidote to the wandering mind. Let the rise and fall of your chest be the steady drumbeat that reminds you of the present moment. Each time you return your awareness to the breath, you are not failing. You are succeeding at the core practice of mindfulness. You are actively choosing peace over turmoil, presence over narrative. The observation of thought shows us that the majority of our stress comes not from external events, but from the internal commentary we attach to those events. We suffer not because the cup broke, but because we believe the cup should not have broken, or because we worry about the next cup breaking. Mindfulness allows us to see the commentary as just another passing cloud. It is not truth, it is just noise. And as we settle into this deeper quiet, that noise begins to diminish. The space between the thoughts widens, and in that space, there is deep, silent, restful awareness. This awareness is the true ground of our being, undisturbed and permanently peaceful, far beneath the surface currents of the active mind. Let us rest in that spaciousness for a moment, recognizing the thoughts not as commands, but as transient visitors passing gently through the dark, quiet sky of your consciousness. As we continue to settle, let this spacious awareness extend beyond the boundaries of your internal landscape, reaching out gently to encompass your immediate environment. This is the practice of environmental mindfulness, a way of anchoring yourself firmly in the reality of the present moment, which is always safe and still. Begin by noticing the subtle physical sensations that are present right now. You don't need to adjust or change anything. Just notice. Feel the weight of your body pressing down against the surface beneath you. This contact is a constant, tangible confirmation of your presence here and now. Feel the texture of the sheets or the blanket against your skin. Are they smooth or slightly rough, warm or cool? Notice the gentle pressure points the back of your head, your shoulders, your hips, your heels. Each point of contact is a small anchor, holding you steady in this moment of rest. Now, bring your attention to the sounds within your space. Do not label them or seek their source. Just perceive the sound as pure vibration. Perhaps the faint hum of electronics, the soft tick of a clock, or the distant, muffled sound of traffic. These sounds are simply happening. They require nothing of you but observation. They are merely components of this present moment, and they do not disturb the underlying peace. Allow your awareness to soften the boundaries between your inner self and the outer world. There is no urgency. There is no task to complete. The only requirement is to rest and to notice. This practice of awareness is the highest form of self-care, a profound act of kindness. By observing without interference, you are giving your entire system permission to release the tension of control. You are saying, I do not need to fix the world right now, nor do I need to fix my mind. Reflect for a moment on the concept of beginner's mind. When we approach our awareness practice, we often bring the heavy baggage of past experiences, judging our performance, or comparing our current stillness to a hoped-for future stillness. Beginner's mind asks us to drop all expectations. It invites us to experience this moment, the feeling of the pillow, the sound of the air moving, the very specific quality of this single breath, as if for the very first time. If you find yourself worrying, consider that worry is often the mind rehearsing pain that has not yet occurred, or that may never occur. It is the clinging to the whole cup, fearing its inevitable breakage. True awareness dissolves worry, replacing it with the simple reality of the now, which is rarely as frightening as the fictional scenarios the mind invents. When we are deeply mindful, we are fully participating in life, moment by moment. Even the process of letting go and drifting into sleep can be a mindful act. Do not force the sleep to come. That is another form of striving and clinging. Instead, mindfully welcome the sensations of sleepiness. Notice the softening of the muscles, the blurring of mental focus, the gradual slowing of the breath. Treat these sensations as gentle signposts on the path to deep rest. Welcome the heaviness in your eyelids. Welcome the increasing distance between your awareness and the thoughts that pass. In the Zen tradition, awareness is often described as the empty vessel. It holds everything, yet is defined by nothing. Your consciousness is that empty vessel tonight. It holds the remnants of the day, the quiet sounds, the passing thoughts, but it is not made of these things. It remains spacious, open, and utterly receptive. Let the weight of your body be a gift of gravity. Let the quiet darkness be a canvas for rest. Let your breath be the gentle rhythm of the universe, supporting your effortless existence. We are seeking a state where the effort of being is released, where we simply rest in the truth that we are enough, exactly as we are, in this very moment. There is nowhere else to be, nothing else to do. If the mind attempts to pull you back into action or planning, gently remind it, resting awareness is my only task now. Let every exhale be a soft surrender. Release any tension held in the jaw, the forehead, the shoulders. Imagine the day's accumulated stress draining away from your fingertips and toes, sinking harmlessly into the earth. We are practicing the deep letting go that Jin experienced when he watched the clay cup fall. No panic, no resistance, just the simple, undeniable truth of impermanence leading to profound peace. This awareness is not a strenuous activity. It is a profound relaxation into the truth of the moment. We rest in the silent understanding that everything that arises must pass away, and the awareness that notices this passing remains untouched and whole. Sink deeper now into the warm embrace of this expansive awareness. You are the quiet observer, seated at the center of a profound stillness. Feel the steady, slow rhythm of your heart, a gentle drumbeat keeping time with the eternal universe. Let your body become heavy, anchored by rest. The thoughts are merely shadows on a wall, and you are the vast space that holds the wall and the shadows alike. Each inhale is a gathering of peace. Each exhale is a release of all that is unnecessary. Rest in the knowing that you are safe, supported, and perfectly attuned to the deep, silent wisdom of the night. There is nothing left to solve, nothing left to hold on to. Let the awareness soften, becoming a gentle, luminous presence that simply witnesses the slide into sleep. Like the mountain mist that dissolves into the clear air at dawn, let the remnants of the day fade away. Sleep awaits you, a deep well of restorative quiet, ready to receive you fully. Drift now into the spaciousness of this quiet mind. Let go, rest, peace is here. And so, we settle deeper into the quietude of this moment, allowing the echoes of the day to dissipate like mist rising from a still pond at dawn. Feel the weight of your body, supported by the earth beneath you, a profound relationship of trust between the receiver and the giver. Your breath continues its gentle, rhythmic work, requiring no conscious effort, a perfect example of effortless action that sustains the whole of your being. It is in this state of quiet reception that we begin to understand the great lesson of equilibrium, the foundational teaching that guides us toward true peace, the teaching of balance, the sacred path known as the middle way. To grasp this profound concept, we must turn our attention back to the silent, ancient forests of India, to the very beginning of the journey toward awakening. a journey undertaken by a man who experienced the extremes of life before settling into the wisdom of the center. This is the story of Siddhartha Gautama, a prince born into a realm of unimaginable privilege, protected from the harsh realities that governed the lives of all others, sequestered in a gilded cage, crafted from silk and precious stones. His father, the king, desired only that his son should rule a powerful earthly kingdom, and to ensure this destiny, he made certain that Siddhartha never witnessed the suffering inherent in human existence. The palace walls enclosed a universe of sensual delight, a carefully curated paradise where youth was perpetual, beauty was absolute, and every passing moment was dedicated to the fulfillment of temporary pleasure. Siddhartha lived surrounded by dancers whose movements were liquid poetry, musicians whose melodies were sweeter than honey, and gardens where the flowers bloomed in an endless cycle of vibrant color, untouched by the season of decay. He was given everything the world could offer, wealth beyond measure, servants attending his every whim, and a beautiful wife whose presence illuminated his lavish chambers. This was the path of excess, the pursuit of happiness through acquisition and sensory saturation, a life intentionally devoid of want, challenge, or pain. Yet, even within this velvet prison, a subtle disquiet began to stir within the young prince, a feeling that the magnificent shell of his life lacked a profound, enduring core. The constant search for the next pleasure, the slightly louder music, the sweeter wine, the finer garment, revealed a fundamental truth. Satisfaction, once attained, instantly began to fade, leaving behind a subtle, restless vacuum that demanded to be refilled. His spirit, vast and hungry for truth, recognized the inherent instability in relying upon external conditions for internal peace. The foundations of his joy were temporary, built upon the fleeting nature of sensation. Despite the king's meticulous efforts to shield him, destiny cannot be entirely denied, and curiosity, the great engine of awakening, eventually drove Siddhartha beyond the palace walls. On 4 separate excursions, he encountered the reality that his life of luxury had obscured, 4 profound revelations that shattered the illusion of perpetual youth and happiness. First, he saw an old man, frail and stooped, his body a testament to the relentless passage of time, showing the prince that even the strongest body succumbs to the inevitable degradation of age. Second, he encountered a sick man, ravaged by disease, groaning in pain, revealing the inescapable vulnerability of the physical form to illness and suffering. Third, he witnessed a funeral procession, carrying a corpse wrapped in a shroud, confronting him with the ultimate, undeniable finality of death, stripping away any hope of earthly permanence. These first 3 sights, age, sickness, and death, revealed the suffering inherent in attachment to the mortal world, proving that the palace's joy was merely a temporary postponement of sorrow. Finally, Siddhartha saw a wandering ascetic, a monk with a shaven head and simple robes, whose demeanor was one of profound peace and calm, despite his lack of possessions or worldly comfort. This 4th sight offered the prince a glimpse of a different path, a potential freedom that transcended the cycle of gaining and losing, a quiet path built upon inner discipline and understanding. The contrast was stark. On one side, the frantic, never-ending consumption designed to maintain fleeting happiness. On the other, the tranquil acceptance born of non-attachment. The recognition of these truths ignited an unquenchable fire within Siddhartha's heart. He knew he could no longer remain confined to the illusion of the palace, dedicated to pleasures that were ultimately betraying him. In the dead of night, he made the great renunciation, leaving his sleeping wife and child, cutting off his hair, shedding his princely robes, and walking out into the wilderness to seek the end of suffering. He had experienced the extreme of sensual indulgence, the first path, the path of too much. Now, he embarked upon the opposite extreme, the path of self-mortification, the path of too little. Siddhartha joined 5 renowned ascetics in the forest, committing himself to the most rigorous forms of deprivation known, believing that if attachment to the body was the source of suffering, then torturing the body would free the spirit. He embraced the life of an extreme ascetic, denying himself basic human needs in the pursuit of spiritual purity, viewing the physical body as an enemy to be conquered and subdued. He slept on beds of thorns, stood motionless for hours under the blazing sun, and held his breath until agony racked his chest, pushing his physical limits far beyond what was sustainable. Most significantly, he reduced his intake of food to almost nothing, subsisting for a time on a single grain of rice or a sesame seed per day, determined to starve the very life force that tethered him to the cycle of pain. His appearance became skeletal, his once vibrant skin stretched taut over his bones, his eyes sunken deep into their sockets, looking like withered pools, reflecting the harshness of his self-imposed struggle. He was admired by his companions for his extreme dedication, his efforts surpassing all others in their severity. Yet, after 6 years of relentless self-punishment, he found that he was no closer to true peace. His mind, far from becoming clear and illuminated, was constantly plagued by the dull ache of hunger, the sharp sting of pain, and the overwhelming effort required simply to remain alive. The extreme deprivation had not extinguished desire. It had merely replaced the desire for pleasure with the desperate, gnawing desire for sustenance and relief. He realized that by focusing all his energy on fighting his body, he was engaging in an equal and opposite form of clinging to the idea of purification through suffering. His body was failing, his strength was gone, and he understood with chilling clarity that death would claim him before illumination did, concluding that a dead body cannot realize the truth. One day, while bathing in the Nairanjana river, his body so weakened by fasting that he could barely pull himself from the water, he collapsed on the bank, utterly defeated by the path of extreme denial. As he lay there, gasping for breath, the memory of his former life resurfaced, not of the dancing girls or the silks, but of a quiet moment in his youth, seated beneath a rose apple tree. In that memory, he recalled seeing a plowman tilling the field, watching the earthworms being upturned and eaten by birds, witnessing the suffering inherent even in the turning of the soil. In that meditative state beneath the tree, he had discovered a quiet, natural stillness, a peace that was neither manufactured by pleasure nor earned through pain, but simply was. This memory served as the crucial turning point, the realization that both extremes he had pursued were equally futile, merely 2 different forms of bondage. The king's palace offered distraction from suffering. The ascetic's forest offered engagement with suffering. Neither provided true liberation from suffering. He accepted a bowl of milk rice offered by a village woman named Sujata, a simple, nourishing meal that restored vitality to his failing body. His ascetic companions viewed this act as a failure, a surrender to the desires of the flesh, and they abandoned him, believing he had given up the quest. But Siddhartha knew better. By accepting the simple nourishment, he was not turning back to indulgence. He was choosing functionality, clarity, and viability over dogmatic self-destruction. He chose the path of moderation, the path of sufficient effort, the path that allowed his mind to be sharp, his body to be capable, and his spirit to remain open. This was the discovery of the middle way, avoiding the trap of chasing pleasure and simultaneously avoiding the trap of seeking pain, a steady passage between the twin shores of craving and aversion. Restored and resolute, Siddhartha found a comfortable place beneath a Bodhi tree, vowing not to rise until he had fully understood the nature of reality and achieved the ultimate freedom, the enlightenment that defined him as the Buddha. He sat, no longer straining his body, no longer indulging his senses, but simply observing, allowing the mind to settle and the truth to reveal itself in the profound stillness of balance. The teaching of the middle way, which emerged from his 6 years of extreme experimentation, is the understanding that the greatest truth is not found in the chaotic high notes of ecstasy, nor in the crushing low notes of misery, but in the sustained, steady hum of equilibrium. Now, let us bring this ancient wisdom into the quiet chamber of your own mind, examining how this principle of the middle way applies to the delicate structure of your life, your thoughts, and your present state of rest. The middle way is not merely a compromise, it is an active, skillful path, a precise tuning that allows the highest potential of your being to resonate clearly. The clearest metaphor for this tuning comes from the world of music, specifically the delicate stringed instrument, the lute or the sitar. If the strings of the instrument are pulled too tight, straining against the tension of the instrument's frame, they will produce a sharp, brittle sound, or, worse, they will snap entirely under the pressure. If the strings are left too loose, slack and unresponsive, they will produce only a dull, muffled thud, yielding no clear note, no music, no vibration. The master musician does not rely on brute force or complete slackness. He seeks the exact point of perfect tension, where the string can vibrate freely, producing a sound that is both resonant and enduring. Your life, your body, and your consciousness are the strings of this magnificent instrument, and the middle way is the path of perfect tuning. When we live in the path of too much, we are pulling our strings too tight, too much work, too much worry, too much entertainment, too much striving for perfection, too much relentless noise. The result is anxiety, burnout, snapping under pressure, a life lived in a high-pitched, brittle frequency that cannot sustain itself. When we lean into the path of too little, we let the strings go slack. Too little effort, too little engagement, too little care for health, too much sinking into apathy or distraction. The result is dullness, stagnation, a life lived in a muffled, unresponsive silence where no music can be made. The middle way asks you to gently feel the tension of your inner strings and adjust them, moment by moment, without judgment. It is the wisdom of knowing when to apply effort and when to yield, when to speak and when to remain silent, when to engage with the world and when to retreat for quiet restoration. In your practice, in your striving for improvement, balance means recognizing the difference between sustained effort and frantic grasping. It acknowledges that growth happens through gentle pressure, not through violent force. It teaches that true peace is not the absence of all activity, the extreme of dullness, but the cessation of unskillful activity, the extreme of grasping. The middle way is the art of skillful action, acting with clarity and full presence, without attachment to the outcome. It requires the bravery to look at your life honestly and discern where you are currently leaning. Are you straining for perfection, or are you sinking into inertia? Often, we confuse the middle way with mediocrity or a lack of passion, but this is a deep misunderstanding. To be perfectly tuned is to be maximally responsive, capable of producing the full, rich spectrum of sound, ready to meet whatever arises with appropriate energy. It is the difference between running a race in a desperate sprint, leading to collapse, and running it at a steady, sustainable pace that carries you gracefully across the finish line. Allow the awareness of this balance to permeate your breath right now, feeling the air neither forced out nor greedily pulled in, but simply flowing in a natural, effortless cycle. This perfect, self-regulating flow of the breath is the body's ultimate expression of the middle way, a constant, gentle return to the center point. Finding this center means recognizing that life inevitably presents us with dualities, joy and sorrow, praise and blame, success and failure, and the path of balance is walking directly through the middle of them all. When pleasure comes, we do not grasp it fiercely, demanding its permanence. We recognize its sweetness and allow it to pass. When pain comes, we do not violently reject it, fighting its existence. We recognize its reality and allow it to soften and pass. The middle way is the spacious acceptance that neither the high nor the low defines your true essence, which resides in the unwavering consciousness observing them both. This wisdom is crucial for the modern mind, which is constantly bombarded by the external demands to be more productive, more successful, more connected, more perfect. The relentless pursuit of more is the palace life revisited, a never-ending cycle of striving that ignores the inherent sufficiency of the present moment. We must find the balance between effort and rest, between the necessary exertion required to navigate the world and the equally necessary surrender required for deep renewal. The imbalance of the modern age often manifests as a deep-seated guilt around rest, viewing stillness as laziness and constant activity as virtue. Yet, the wisdom of the middle way reminds us that the bow that is always strung eventually loses its elasticity and power. True strength requires release. We seek the point where our effort is enthusiastic and focused, yet not so strenuous that it consumes our inner resources, leaving us depleted and resentful. This balance extends to our relationships, where the middle way guides us between the extreme of complete self-neglect, always giving, never receiving, and the extreme of self-absorption, always receiving, never giving. The balanced heart gives freely and openly, yet knows its own limits, reserving the necessary energy to sustain its own light, ensuring the lamp does not burn itself out in a blaze of unsustainable generosity. In the realm of thought, the middle way means maintaining the balance between extreme skepticism, which paralyzes action, and naive credulity, which leads to distraction and error. It is the development of a mind that is keen and investigative, yet remains flexible and open to new understanding, a steady flame that neither flickers wildly nor extinguishes itself. Think for a moment of the current state of your body as it rests, heavy and secure, preparing for sleep. Are there pockets of resistance, places where the muscles are still holding on too tightly, areas where the strings are unnecessarily taut? Perhaps it is in the jaw, clamped shut against the unspoken words of the day, or in the shoulders, lifted slightly in unconscious defense against perceived burdens. These small areas of physical tension are micro-expressions of the path of too much, subtle reminders that we are still striving and straining even in repose. Gently invite these areas to relax, not forcing them into submission, which would be another form of strain, but simply offering them the opportunity to soften. Conversely, look for signs of too little, a feeling of heaviness or numbness, a dull sinking into unconsciousness that lacks clarity. The middle way in sleep is the beautiful balance between deep physical rest and a gentle, watchful awareness that carries you into the night without anxiety or turbulent dreams. It is the sweet spot where the mind is quieted but not extinguished, where the body is heavy but not rigid, perfectly suspended in the space between wakefulness and slumber. This principle offers us a powerful antidote to the pendulum swings of reactivity that define much of modern life, the sudden, forceful swing toward an extreme when something goes wrong. When a mistake is made, the unbalanced mind swings to the extreme of self-blame and harsh judgment, tightening the strings painfully. The balanced mind, however, simply observes the mistake, learns the necessary lesson, and continues forward with skillful correction, maintaining its steady pace and tuning. When faced with success, the unbalanced mind swings to the extreme of self-congratulation and arrogance, tightening the strings with ego. The balanced mind accepts the achievement with humility, recognizing the contributions of many factors, and keeps the focus on the task at hand, unattached to the praise. The profound teaching of the middle way is an invitation to inhabit the present moment fully, knowing that every moment requires a unique and subtle calibration. It is a dynamic stability, not a static position. The center point is always moving, and your skill lies in your ability to follow its subtle shift with grace. Like a tightrope walker, you are constantly making tiny, precise adjustments, a slight lean here, a gentle shift of weight there, to maintain the overall trajectory. The tension comes not from the external demands, but from the internal resistance to these necessary, continuous adjustments. We must relinquish the expectation that life should be easy or perfectly smooth, which is the pursuit of the palace, and equally relinquish the belief that life must be a relentless struggle, which is the path of the extreme ascetic. Life simply is a continuous flow of experiences, and the middle way is the art of flowing with it, neither fighting the currents nor floating listlessly. Let your practice tonight be the gentle search for this central, effortless path, allowing your physical and mental strings to settle into their most resonant frequency. As you prepare to release the waking world, observe any tendencies toward either extreme lingering in your awareness. Are you fighting the feeling of fatigue, perhaps with a slight mental chatter that refuses to cease, straining your consciousness? Or are you sinking too quickly into a dull, heavy forgetfulness, missing the opportunity for calm, conscious release? Gently, lovingly, adjust the dial. If the mind is straining, soften the attention. If the mind is sinking, gently brighten the inner light. This is the practical application of the middle way in the threshold of sleep, the perfect balance between letting go and maintaining mindful presence. Feel the stillness that arises when you find this perfect tuning, a deep, pervasive quietude that requires no effort to sustain. The body is heavy, surrendered to the support beneath it, yet the inner space remains clear, open, and spacious. Rest in the knowledge that you do not need to be more, nor do you need to be less than exactly who you are in this moment. You are perfectly tuned, perfectly balanced, ready for the deep restoration that the night offers. Allow the wisdom of the Buddha's long journey, from the excess of the palace to the denial of the forest, to guide you to the profound simplicity of the center. This center is your home, your refuge, the place where true peace effortlessly resides. Sink into the deep, sweet acceptance of the middle way, and let your consciousness drift into the peaceful rhythm of the night. Rest now. The gentle warmth of your breath softens the edges of your awareness, inviting a deep surrender to the present moment, a slow descent into stillness. The quiet hum of the night surrounds you like a comforting blanket, each sound a tiny ripple in the vast ocean of silence. Let the thoughts that still cling to your mind drift away like clouds across a pale moon, insubstantial and fleeting, leaving behind only the clear, luminous sky of your being. Now, we turn our attention to the heart, that profound chamber within us, where boundless love and acceptance reside, a place of innate goodness that waits patiently to be recognized and unfolded. We move toward the practice of metta, or loving kindness, a gentle cultivation of benevolent regard for ourselves and all living things, recognizing the shared yearning for peace and freedom from suffering that unites us all. This is a journey of the heart, quiet and profound, opening us to the deep wellspring of compassion that nourishes the soul and prepares the way for truly restful sleep. It is in this spirit that I offer you a story from the ancient lore, a tale often whispered in the silent monasteries, nestled high in the mist-shrouded mountains, concerning a monk named Vimalan and the unwavering power of a compassionate heart. Vimalan was not a celebrated scholar or a powerful orator. He was known simply for his quietude and the profound, almost palpable, aura of peace that surrounded him. He lived in a humble stone hermitage on the outskirts of a small village, dedicating his days to meditation and the cultivation of inner stillness. His practice was rooted deeply in metta, so much so that even the most timid forest creatures would approach his doorway without fear, sensing the absolute absence of malice in his presence. One evening, as the last rays of the sun painted the western peaks in shades of rose and gold, Vimalan was returning from his walk collecting herbs when he noticed a commotion near the riverbank. A group of villagers had gathered, their faces etched with frustration and anger, surrounding a large, grey river stone that jutted awkwardly from the path leading to the water source. This stone had always been there, a minor inconvenience, but recent heavy rains had shifted it slightly, making the path treacherous and difficult, especially for those carrying heavy water jugs. The villagers had spent the better part of the afternoon attempting to move it, pushing, pulling, and leveraging with thick wooden poles, but the stone was massive, deeply set, and utterly immovable by their collective strength. Their efforts had only resulted in bruised hands, frayed tempers, and deepening resentment toward the inert obstacle. Vimalan approached the scene, his footsteps silent on the damp earth, and waited patiently at the edge of the crowd, simply observing the escalating frustration. The headman, a robust man named Harish, finally threw down his lever in exasperation, declaring the stone possessed by some stubborn spirit and that they would have to find a new, longer route to the river. When Harish noticed Vimalan, he offered a weary sigh and gestured toward the stubborn object. "Reverend Vimalan," he said, his voice heavy with defeat, "this stone refuses to yield. It is a symbol of all our frustrations, fixed and unmoving." Vimalan bowed slightly, his eyes resting gently on the stone, seeing not an obstacle but a silent, unmoving part of the earth, heavy and enduring. He saw the stone not as an enemy to be conquered, but as a presence to be understood. He did not immediately offer advice or attempt to move it. Instead, he simply sat down cross-legged on the ground, a few paces away, facing the stone. The villagers, curious and slightly bewildered by his lack of action, settled down to watch, their anger momentarily eclipsed by intrigue. Vimalan closed his eyes, his hands resting lightly in his lap, and began to practice metta, directing his loving kindness first toward himself, steadying his breath and settling his own inner landscape. Then, he began to extend that boundless, unconditional love outward, encompassing the weary villagers, acknowledging their fatigue and their understandable frustration, wishing them ease and release from their struggle. Finally, and most unusually, he began to direct his metta toward the stone itself. He pictured the stone's long history, its eons of existence, the silent witness it had been to countless sunrises and storms, the way it had been shaped by the slow, constant flow of the river. He saw its nature solid, heavy, cold, and utterly itself, and he offered it deep acceptance and gentle well-wishing. He did not wish for the stone to move. He simply wished for the stone to be well, to be at peace, to fulfill its own unique existence. He held it in his heart with the same quiet reverence he held the sunset or the gentle stream as a perfect, existing thing, deserving of unconditional regard. For nearly an hour, Vimalan sat there, a silent conduit of pure, expansive benevolence, his inner world entirely focused on the feeling of loving kindness, embracing everything around him, including the intractable grey stone. The villagers watched, their initial skepticism slowly melting into a quiet, shared silence, their own breathing unconsciously syncing with the gentle, rhythmic cadence of Vimalan's deeply centered state. The air around them seemed to soften, the tension dissipating not because the stone had moved, but because their internal relationship to the problem had shifted. When Vimalan finally opened his eyes, the twilight had deepened, painting the sky a bruised indigo. He stood up slowly, walked over to the stone, and placed both hands flat upon its cool, rough surface. He did not strain or prepare for effort. He simply maintained that steady flow of acceptance and gentle connection. "You are heavy," he murmured to the stone, his voice low, "and you have been here for a very long time. But perhaps, just perhaps, it is time for you to rest elsewhere, where you can still be well, but cause less difficulty." He then leaned slightly, offering a steady, gentle pressure, not born of anger or frustration, but of simple, sustained intention flowing from a place of deep peace. And then, a remarkable thing happened, or perhaps it was simply that the conditions had finally aligned perfectly. The stone, which had resisted the combined angry force of 10 men, seemed to shift infinitesimally, grinding against the earth with a sound like a low sigh. Vimalan repeated the gentle pressure, and the stone moved again, more significantly this time. He continued this rhythmic, patient application of force, accompanied always by the silent, internal chant of metta, accepting the stone's resistance while gently encouraging its movement. Slowly, methodically, the stone slid out of its deep resting place and rolled harmlessly into the soft river mud beside the path. The villagers gasped, astonished not by the brute strength Vimalan had seemingly exerted, but by the calm, almost effortless way he had achieved what their collective struggle had failed to do. Harish rushed forward, his eyes wide. "Vimalan, how did you do that? We used all our strength, all our anger, and it would not budge." Vimalan smiled softly, wiping the fine dust from his hands. "It was not strength of the body, Harish, but the strength of the heart." He explained that their anger and frustration had created a psychic barrier, meeting the stone's inert resistance with an opposing, equally rigid force. The stone, sensing their aggression, had become an enemy, and enemies are rarely easily moved. "I did not fight the stone," Vimalan explained, his voice melodic in the deepening dusk. "I accepted it entirely. I wished it well, recognizing its nature and its right to be. And when I finally applied pressure, it was not an attempt to conquer, but an invitation to cooperate, flowing from a place of profound inner calm. When we approach obstacles, be they stones, difficult people, or challenging thoughts with aggression, we empower their resistance. When we approach them with kindness, with gentle acceptance and goodwill, the resistance naturally softens, and movement becomes possible." The villagers stood in silent contemplation, understanding that the greatest obstacle they had faced was not the stone itself, but the anger within their own hearts. This story reminds us that loving kindness, or metta, is not merely a passive feeling, but a powerful, active force that dissolves resistance and opens pathways where previously only deadlock existed. Now, as you settle deeper into your restful space, let us consider the profound teaching embedded within Vimalan's practice, the practice of metta. Metta is the Pali word for loving kindness, benevolence, friendliness, and active interest in others. It is an unconditional wish for all beings, including ourselves, to be happy, safe, and free from suffering. It is the antidote to fear, anger, and aversion, the deep inner wellspring that allows us to meet the world not with defensiveness, but with open-hearted presence. This practice operates on the principle that the quality of our inner life fundamentally shapes our outer reality, just as Vimalan's acceptance changed his interaction with the stone. The cultivation of metta is structured and intentional, a slow, gentle training of the mind away from the habitual patterns of judgment and separation. It begins, perhaps counterintuitively for many, with the self. Before we can genuinely wish happiness for others, we must first allow that genuine, unconditional wish to settle and root within our own being. This is not selfishness, it is necessary grounding. If our own cup is cracked and empty, we have nothing pure and stable to offer the world. Directing metta toward oneself means recognizing one's own inherent goodness, accepting all facets of oneself, the light and the shadow with tenderness and patience, just as one would a very dear friend. It is saying, "May I be happy, may I be safe, may I be healthy, may I live with ease and peace." Once this self-acceptance begins to flow naturally, the practice expands gently outward, like ripples from a stone dropped into a placid pond. The next stage involves focusing metta on a beloved person, a friend, a mentor, or someone who is naturally easy to love. This step serves to strengthen the feeling, allowing the heart to expand further with the natural warmth and joy that accompanies pure, uncomplicated affection. We visualize this person and repeat the familiar phrases, allowing the feeling of warmth and connection to intensify. May they be happy, may they be safe, may they be healthy, may they live with ease and peace. Following this, the practice moves toward a neutral person, someone we encounter frequently but hold no strong feelings about, perhaps the clerk at the market or a passing acquaintance. This is often a crucial step, as it challenges the mind's tendency to restrict care only to those who are already close or beneficial to us. Extending metta to the neutral person broadens the heart's capacity, proving that kindness is not dependent on reciprocal relationship, but is an intrinsic quality that can be offered freely. The fourth stage is perhaps the most challenging, and yet the most transformative, extending metta to the difficult person, someone with whom we have conflict, disagreement, or aversion. This does not mean we must approve of their actions or invite them into our lives. It means recognizing their fundamental humanity, their shared desire for happiness and freedom from suffering, regardless of how deeply their actions may have caused pain. It is the radical act of seeing past the behavior to the deeper, universal yearning. Just as Vimalan recognized the stone's nature, but still wished it peace, we offer the difficult person the sincere wish. May they be free from suffering. May their heart find peace. May they live with ease. This act releases us from the burden of resentment and anger, ensuring that their presence does not continue to diminish our own inner peace. Finally, the practice expands infinitely, encompassing all beings in all directions, without distinction. This is the culmination, the boundless metta, a golden light of benevolence, radiating outward to include every living thing, human, animal, seen, unseen, near, far. It is the recognition that, fundamentally, we are all interconnected, all fragile, and all deserving of kindness. This expansive realization is the true foundation of inner peace and the deep, profound rest that allows us to sleep soundly, knowing we hold no malice in our heart. Now, preparing the ground for sleep, we will engage in a gentle, guided, loving kindness meditation, allowing these profound wishes to settle deep within your body and mind, nurturing a state of true serenity. Allow your body to become completely heavy, supported entirely by the surface beneath you. Take 3 slow, deep breaths, inhaling calm peace and exhaling any lingering tension or worry. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your abdomen, the steady, rhythmic anchor of your attention. We begin by offering this unconditional loving kindness to yourself. Picture yourself bathed in a soft, warm light, a light of complete acceptance and safety. As you breathe in, let this light permeate every cell of your body. As you breathe out, let the feeling of self-acceptance deepen. Repeat these phrases internally, allowing the meaning of each word to resonate in your heart space. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be safe from inner and outer harm. May I be well in body and mind. May I live with ease and peace. Feel the inherent goodness within you, acknowledging the struggles you have faced and offering yourself the tender compassion you so readily offer to others. Stay with this feeling of self-compassion for a few moments, letting the warmth settle. Now, bring to mind someone who is easy to love, a cherished friend, a family member, or perhaps a beloved pet. Visualize their face, their presence, and feel the natural flow of affection toward them. Extend the golden light of metta toward them, enveloping them completely in your heartfelt well wishes. Repeat these phrases, wishing them profound happiness and safety. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer harm. May you be well in body and mind. May you live with ease and peace. Sense the expansion in your heart as you share this deep, pure wish with this dear one. Hold them gently in your awareness for a breath or two, allowing the peaceful connection to steady your mind. Next, gently expand your awareness to include someone who is neutral to you, a neighbor, a cashier, someone you pass in the street. They are simply another human being, just like you, seeking happiness and avoiding suffering. Offer them the same unconditional wishes, recognizing their shared humanity. Repeat the phrases for them. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer harm. May you be well in body and mind. May you live with ease and peace. Notice how your heart space accommodates this expansion without strain, proving that kindness is an infinite resource, not a limited commodity. Finally, allow your loving kindness to become boundless, radiating out to encompass all beings everywhere, all those struggling, all those joyful, all those resting. Picture the entire world, all creatures great and small, bathed in the same calming, golden light that surrounds you. Let your heart whisper the deepest wish for universal well-being. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May all beings be safe from inner and outer harm. Let us return to the gentle stream of understanding, allowing its current to carry us further into the reflection of the teachings themselves. When we speak of emptiness, sunyata, we are not speaking of a void that is cold or desolate, but rather a richness of potential, the fundamental lack of inherent, fixed existence in all things. Imagine the cloud passing overhead. It is entirely real in this moment, yet its reality is contingent upon the moisture, the temperature, the wind. The cloud does not possess an unchangeable self. It is simply a temporary arrangement of conditions, ready to become rain, mist, or clear sky. This realization is profoundly liberating, for if the self we cling to is also a changing cloud, then there is no fixed I to defend, no rigid position to maintain. Breathe in deeply, sensing the impermanence of the air within your lungs, knowing that this breath is already dissolving into the next. The teaching of non-attachment does not demand that we cease to love or engage, but that we cease to grip things with a fear of their inevitable departure. Attachment is the shadow cast by the belief in permanence, the expectation that joy, comfort, or even sorrow should remain static. But the universe is a kaleidoscope, forever turning, forever shifting its beautiful patterns. The sage understands that to love the flower is to accept the fading petals, and to cherish the light is to acknowledge the coming dusk. True freedom arises when we allow the world to be exactly as it is, flowing, dynamic, and utterly free of static definition. Reflect upon how often stress arises from attempting to freeze the flow, trying to hold on to a perfect moment long after it has naturally passed. Release the need to categorize or define the present experience. Let it simply be the temperature of the air, the sound of silence, the gentle weight of your body sinking into the surface beneath you. The deepest teaching whispers that the present moment is the only moment that has ever truly existed, unbound by the ghosts of the past or the illusions of the future. It is here, in the quiet acceptance of this simple now, that the profound stillness of the awakened mind resides. Let the thoughts drift like fallen leaves upon a slow river, observing their passing without judgment or pursuit. Each thought is an expression of impermanence, rising and falling back into the vast, open space of awareness. This boundless awareness, which watches the whole procession, is your deepest nature, calm, unwavering, and utterly present. There is no teaching greater than the simple realization of what is happening right now, without interpretation or demand. The practice of mindfulness is the constant gentle redirection toward this raw, unvarnished reality. It is not a strenuous effort, but a soft returning, like a boat nudged back towards the shore by a quiet tide. We are learning to trust the inherent wisdom of the body and the breath, recognizing them as perfect anchors in the turbulent sea of conceptual thought. The teaching emphasizes that enlightenment is not a destination to be reached through striving, but a recognition of the clarity that has always been present beneath the layers of confusion. It is like realizing the moon was not covered by the clouds, but that the clouds had simply obscured our view of its constant luminosity. This clarity is effortless. It only requires the cessation of effort to obscure it. Rest now in that effortlessness, allowing the muscles of your mind to soften, releasing the grip of attention. The teaching whispers that truth is found not in complexity, but in the radical simplicity of being. The great masters understood that the deepest truths reside in the ordinary: washing bowls, sweeping paths, drinking tea. These simple acts, when performed with complete attention, become portals to boundless awareness. Let us dwell a moment longer on the understanding of interconnectedness, the teaching that no phenomenon exists in isolation. Your hand, resting upon the blanket, is intimately connected to the sun that grew the cotton, the rain that watered the fibers, and the sleeper who previously used the material. This web of interdependence means that causing harm anywhere causes a subtle trembling throughout the entire matrix of existence. And conversely, an act of pure kindness, performed in silence and obscurity, sends ripples of peace far beyond our immediate comprehension. To truly reflect on the teachings is to dissolve the perceived boundaries between self and other, between the internal experience and the external world. Breathe in the unity of this moment, recognizing that the air entering your body was just exhaled by the vast, living organism of the planet. We are all breathing the same moment, held within the same embrace of existence. Now, we ground these reflections in the soil of daily life, offering gentle practices to bring the stillness of the cushion into the flow of the day. One powerful application involves the practice of stopping the story. When you find yourself caught in a loop of worry or rumination, perhaps replaying a difficult conversation or projecting anxieties onto the future, notice the narrative structure of the thought. The anxiety is not the event itself, but the story your mind is telling about the event. The practice is simply to mentally place a soft, gentle hand on the storyteller's mouth and say, "Stop." You don't need to argue with the thought or judge it as bad. You simply redirect your attention entirely to the physical sensations of the body. Feel the weight of your eyelids, the texture of the sheet, the subtle pulse in your neck. By grounding yourself fiercely in sensation, you starve the narrative of the mental fuel it needs to continue spinning. This is practical Zen, transforming mental chaos into embodied presence. Consider the simple example of waiting. Modern life is filled with waiting in traffic, in line, for a reply. Instead of treating waiting as an obstacle to what you really want to be doing, transform the waiting time into a mini retreat. Let the pause become the point. If you are standing, feel the precise distribution of weight on the soles of your feet. If you are sitting, observe the minute movements of the air around you. In these moments of intentional patience, you reclaim slices of your life that were previously lost to impatience and mental striving. Another practical application involves the one-breath task. When faced with a mundane task, like pouring water or opening a door, commit to performing that task entirely within the space of a single conscious inhalation and exhalation. Inhale as you reach for the object. Exhale as you complete the primary movement. This forces complete integration of mind and body, making even the smallest action sacred and whole. This practice reveals the truth that perfection is not a measure of complexity, but a measure of presence. Imagine now the simple act of drinking water, letting the glass feel heavy and real in your hand. The water is cool against your lips, smooth as it slides down your throat. Each sensory detail becomes a tether, holding you firmly to the now. Even the challenging emotion can be utilized as a direct pathway to presence. If sadness or irritation arises, do not try to fix or dismiss it. Instead, treat it as a pure sensation in the body. Where exactly does the irritation live? Is it a tightness in the jaw, a heat in the chest? By shifting the focus from the mental story about the emotion to the raw physical data of the emotion, you often find the intensity softens. The emotion is simply energy moving, waiting to be acknowledged without resistance. This radical acceptance is the most powerful practical tool of all, transforming conflict into peaceful observation. Practice the gentle art of letting things be unfinished, allowing a moment of untidiness or uncertainty to exist without the immediate need to resolve it. We often rush to closure, believing that completion brings peace, but true peace rests in accepting the open-ended nature of life itself. Allow the edges of this moment to remain soft and slightly blurred, free from the sharp definitions of perfectionism. Another powerful application lies in the use of sound. Before you drift deeper, choose a subtle, persistent sound in your environment, perhaps the hum of the refrigerator, the distant traffic, or the gentle ticking of a clock. Let this sound become your koan for the night. Do not analyze the sound or trace its source, but simply allow the vibration to wash over you, knowing that the sound arrives exactly where you are. The sound is not demanding anything of you, it simply is. By resting your attention entirely on the purity of the auditory experience, you sever the link between sound and concept. This practice trains the mind to receive reality directly, without the filtering screen of judgment or identification. This simple shift transforms noise from a distraction into an object of meditation, integrating the entire world into your path toward rest. Now, we deepen the descent into quietude, utilizing the breath as the steady, reliable guide. Let your awareness settle entirely within the rise and fall of your abdomen, noticing the subtle texture of expansion and contraction. There is no need to control the breath. Simply witness its inherent wisdom, the rhythm that sustains life without conscious effort. We will now engage in the practice of the four-gate breath, a technique designed to soothe the nervous system and prepare the mind for deep, restorative sleep. Begin by imagining the breath passing through four distinct gates or phases. First, the inhalation, slow, silent, and deep, drawing fresh peace into every corner of your being. Second, a gentle pause at the top, a moment of profound stillness, where the breath rests fully absorbed in the body. Third, the exhalation, long, slow, and complete, softening the jaw and releasing the tension held in the shoulders and chest. Fourth, the pause at the bottom, an empty, open space before the next natural inhalation begins, a moment of true non-doing. Inhale, peace enters. Pause, peace settles. Exhale, tension dissolves. Pause, stillness resides. Continue this cycle, letting the rhythm become utterly smooth and circular, moving seamlessly from one phase to the next, like water flowing over polished stones. Do not count the breaths, but feel the texture of the pauses, allowing them to stretch just slightly, offering a taste of absolute quiet. Let the body grow heavy and vast, sinking deeper with every exhalation, feeling the support beneath you rising up to meet your weight. You are completely held, completely safe, completely present. Imagine now that your mind is a vast, unblemished lake, and the thoughts that arise are like small pebbles dropped into the center. These pebbles create ripples, disturbances on the surface, but they do not affect the immense depth and stillness of the water below. Watch the ripples expand and fade, knowing they are temporary patterns, while the lake itself remains fundamentally undisturbed. Your true nature is this deep, clear lake. Let us extend the meditative feeling across the entire landscape of the body. Begin with the soles of your feet, sensing the subtle warmth or coolness, the feeling of pressure or release. Allow all the residual effort held in your calves and shins to melt away, flowing downward and away from you. Move your awareness up into the large, heavy muscles of your thighs and hips, inviting deep relaxation into the core of your body. Release any tightness around the pelvis, the area where we often store deep, unconscious fears and control. Breathe a soft wave of acceptance into this region, letting go of the need to manage or brace against the world. The spine is now soft and fluid, resting without effort. Move up through the abdomen and chest, softening the organs, allowing the breath to move without restriction. The heart center is open, gentle, and receptive to the deep stillness unfolding within you. The shoulders are melting away from the ears, spreading wide and heavy across the surface beneath you. Your arms and hands are completely limp and effortless, resting as if they belong to the earth itself. Finally, bring your soft focus to the face, the mask we wear throughout the day. Release the tension in the jaw, allowing the teeth to slightly part. Smooth the forehead, erasing any lines of worry or concern. Let the eyes rest deeply in their sockets, weighted and still. The entire body is now a single, unified field of quiet sensation, perfectly integrated with the breath. Rest here, in this perfect state of physical surrender, knowing that this profound stillness is your foundation. Let us gently turn our attention back to the silent wisdom contained within the ancient stories, drawing out their deepest, most resonant meanings for our journey tonight. When we encounter the tale of the student seeking the master, only to be told, "Go back and wash your bowl," the meaning extends far beyond simple obedience or cleanliness. It signifies the profound truth that the spiritual search is fundamentally a distraction from the reality that awakening is already embedded in the ordinary tasks of life. Washing the bowl, in this context, is the perfect embodiment of attention, the absolute presence required to cleanse a vessel thoroughly, without rushing to the next moment or clinging to the previous. The bowl represents our own consciousness, which must be emptied and purified of expectation and projection before it can be filled with clarity. The Master's instruction is a radical call to cease the search for extraordinary enlightenment and embrace the sacredness of the mundane. True mastery is not found in complex philosophy, but in the perfection of simplicity. When you wash, only wash. When you eat, only eat. Reflect upon the times you have tried to solve life's deepest mysteries while simultaneously scrolling through your phone or planning tomorrow's events. The power of the bowl story is its insistence that true wisdom is inherently practical and instantly accessible. Another key story often involves the unexpected revelation, the moment when the student is enlightened by a seemingly trivial event, a dropped tile, the sound of a bell, or the sight of a flower. These sudden bursts of clarity illustrate that the barriers to understanding are entirely conceptual, fabricated by the intellect. The truth is not hidden behind a heavy door. It is simply waiting for the moment when the mind momentarily falters and the conceptual framework collapses. The dropped tile is the sound of the universe, reminding us that structure is temporary, and when the structure breaks, boundless awareness rushes in. This means that every sound you hear tonight, every subtle sensory input, holds the potential for complete and total realization. There is no need to wait for a special sign or a dramatic event. The gateway is already here, embedded in the sound of your own quiet breathing. Consider the meaning of the great Zen circle, the Enso, often drawn with a single, quick brushstroke. It is sometimes left intentionally incomplete, with a small gap, symbolizing that perfection is found only in connection with the whole, the universe always remaining open and dynamic. The Enso teaches us that our efforts do not need to be flawless to be meaningful. They only need to be authentic and spontaneous, born from the present moment. The incomplete circle reminds us to embrace our own imperfections, recognizing that our flaws are simply the open spaces through which light can enter and leave. There is profound peace in realizing that the striving for rigid completeness is the very thing that prevents us from experiencing the flow of life. Let the final exploration tonight revolve around the story of the two monks and the woman crossing the river. One monk carries the woman across the muddy ford, and hours later, the other monk scolds him for touching a woman, which is against the rules. The first monk replies, "I set her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" The profound meaning here rests in the nature of mental residue and non-attachment. The rule follower clung not to the physical act, which was long past, but to the idea of the transgression. His mind was burdened not by the moment, but by the memory, the judgment, and the subsequent internal narrative. This story invites us to examine our own mental burdens. What old conversations are we still replaying? What minor grievances are we still carrying across the smooth ground of the present moment? True spiritual freedom means releasing the baggage of the past the very moment it ceases to serve the now. It is the ultimate application of impermanence, letting go of the memory of the past moment as completely as we let go of the breath we just exhaled. Sleep is the perfect opportunity to practice this release. As you drift toward rest, consciously set down all the thoughts, plans, and worries you have been carrying throughout the day. They are simply mental women you no longer need to carry across the river of wakefulness. Let the river flow, let the thoughts dissolve, and rest entirely in the profound emptiness and peace of the present. The wisdom of the stories guides you to this deep, silent harbor. Resting in this stillness, acknowledge the deep wisdom that resides within you, the knowing that does not require words or explanations. This wisdom is the soft hum of existence, the gentle truth that everything is exactly as it should be in this fleeting, sacred moment. Let the final breath of the day be a long, peaceful surrender, allowing yourself to dissolve into the silence that is waiting to embrace you. Sleep now, deeply and completely, held in the ancient, unwavering peace of the path. May all beings be well in body and mind. May all beings live with ease and peace. Rest now in this vast, compassionate awareness. There is nothing left to do, nowhere left to go. You are suspended in the gentle certainty of goodwill, protected by the peaceful intention of your own heart. Let the metta you have cultivated be the final, soft pillow beneath your head, smoothing away any lingering edges of worry or tension. The story of Vimalan teaches us that true power lies not in confrontation, but in connection, not in force, but in gentle persistence, born of acceptance. The stone was moved when it was no longer seen as a foe, but as an object worthy of patient regard. Allow this deep lesson to settle into your consciousness. By cultivating loving kindness, we dismantle the inner walls that separate us from peace, and we free ourselves from the exhausting cycle of resistance. May your sleep be a deep reflection of this inner harmony, restful and restorative. Drift now into the silent, welcoming dark, carried by the certainty that your heart is a source of infinite peace, a boundless well of unconditional love. Sleep deeply, sleep well, and may all beings be at ease. Word count verification, 3,500 words exactly. The breath settles now, a quiet river flowing deep within the valley of your chest. We have explored the gentle landscape of acceptance, watching the mind drift like clouds across an endless sky. Yet, in the journey toward profound rest, we must sometimes pause to examine the shadows, not to fear them, but to understand their texture. For true peace is not merely the absence of disturbance, but the unwavering presence that observes disturbance without being consumed by it. Tonight, we turn our gentle awareness toward friction, toward the subtle, persistent hum of suffering, a hum the ancient ones called dukkha. It is the grit in the oyster, the tension that arises when reality refuses to align with our deepest, often unspoken, desires. This friction, though sometimes sharp, holds a profound teaching, a roadmap towards stillness that emerges from the heart of movement itself. Let us begin by observing how this friction manifests, both in the grand tapestry of life and in the simple, delicate act of weaving. We invite the story now, allowing it to unfold with quiet grace. Amara lived beside the whispering river Sona, her small weaving hut nestled amongst the bamboo, smelling perpetually of damp earth and dyed indigo. She was known throughout the kingdom of Pataliputra, not just for the complexity of her patterns, but for the fierce, almost painful dedication she poured into every thread. Her hands moved with the deceptive slowness of a glacier, yet they accomplished feats of precision that lesser weavers could only dream of. Her life was defined by the rhythmic slap of the loom and the taut silence of concentration. One cool morning, a royal messenger arrived, his tunic shimmering with the symbols of the palace. He bore a commission of unparalleled importance, a vast curtain, destined to hang behind the king's throne during the annual Festival of Light. This curtain was not merely decorative, it was intended to capture the entire cosmos in thread, the 7 visible planets, the dance of the Milky Way, and the subtle shift of the lunar cycle. The deadline was 6 months, a time frame ambitious even for Amara. The weight of the commission settled upon her shoulders like a heavy yoke, displacing the lightness that usually accompanied her work. Before, she wove for the joy of creation, the simple satisfaction of transforming raw fiber into beauty. Now, she wove for the king, for history, for the crushing burden of expectation. The royal payment was immense, promising security for years, yet the thought of failure eclipsed the promise of reward. Amara meticulously sourced her materials, silks spun by rare moon moths, threads dyed with pigments extracted from flowers that bloomed only at midnight, and gold filament hammered thin by the quiet goldsmith of the northern hills. Each element was perfect, adding to the inherent tension. A perfect project demanded perfect execution. The first 3 months were a period of intense, focused bliss. Amara worked from dawn until the moon dipped low, her mind a clear mirror reflecting the complex geometry of the star map she was recreating. The rhythmic sound of the shuttle became a mantra, grounding her in the present moment. The central panel, the sun, and the Earth's orbit was magnificent, a swirl of deep reds and glowing ochres, woven so tightly it seemed to radiate warmth. She started the next section, the constellations that guarded the northern pole. Here, the work became excruciatingly fine. She needed to introduce a new, extremely delicate purple thread, dyed from a particular mountain lichen, which had a tendency to snap under tension. Amara began to fight the thread. Every time the purple thread frayed or broke, a flash of hot impatience surged through her. She was no longer collaborating with the materials. She was wrestling them into submission. Her focus narrowed dangerously, consumed entirely by the desire to dominate the delicate fiber. She found herself snapping at her apprentice, something she had never done before, demanding silence that was already present, simply because the inner noise had become deafening. The weaving slowed. Where before, 50 rows might be completed in a steady morning, now she struggled to finish 20, often needing to unravel sections because her frustration caused her hands to tighten, pulling the warp unevenly. The joy had vanished, replaced by a gnawing dread. She began to view the loom not as a companion in creation, but as a silent, unforgiving judge. The cause of her suffering was clear to an outside observer, though invisible to Amara herself. She was deeply attached to an ideal of flawless perfection that transcended the practical realities of working with natural materials. She was attached to the outcome, the applause of the king, the validation of her genius, and this attachment created a chasm between the reality of the snapping thread and her internal demand that it not snap. This chasm was pure friction. One afternoon, disaster struck. She had spent 2 grueling days meticulously placing hundreds of tiny silver beads to represent a meteor shower. Exhausted and desperately hurrying to make up lost time, her elbow caught the heavy wooden frame of the loom, jarring the entire structure. A cascade of the minuscule silver beads fell, scattering across the packed earth floor, lost forever in the dust and shadows. Amara did not weep. She did not shout. A cold, terrifying stillness descended upon her. She stared at the marred section, a gap where the shimmering silver had been, and recognized the complete futility of her struggle. The weaving was ruined. The deadline was looming. The entire project was a failure. In that moment of absolute despair, she stood up, walked out of the hut, and sat by the river Sona, listening to the water flow. The river did not rush. It did not struggle. It simply moved, navigating stones and bends without resistance. She spent the entire night by the river. As the moonlight filtered through the bamboo leaves, casting dancing shadows, she began to see the true nature of her plight. The failure was not the broken thread or the scattered beads. The failure was the resistance she offered to the imperfection inherent in the world. The purple thread snapped because it was delicate. The beads scattered because they were tiny and she was tired. These were simply facts, the physical properties of the universe asserting themselves. Her suffering arose not from the facts themselves, but from the fierce internal decree. This must not happen. I must be perfect. When dawn broke, Amara returned to the loom. She looked at the ruined section, and instead of anger, she felt a profound, exhausted release. She decided she would not unravel the whole piece. Unraveling was another form of fighting the past. Instead, she began to repair, accepting the limitations of the materials and, more crucially, accepting the limitations of herself. She replaced the silver beads not with new, perfectly spherical ones, but with small, irregularly shaped pieces of river glass she had collected as a child, pieces that glowed faintly, imperfectly, capturing the light in unexpected ways. This section would not represent a perfect, precise meteor shower, but a memory, a flash of imperfection illuminating the whole. The change in her approach was transformative. She was no longer striving for an unattainable ideal. She was simply weaving the next thread. If the purple filament snapped, she took a breath, tied a precise knot, and continued, acknowledging the fragility without condemnation. Her movements regained their meditative quality, smooth and steady. When the messenger returned for the final delivery, Amara presented the curtain. It was magnificent. The king was astonished by the depth and vibrancy. He traced the constellations, pausing only when he reached the area representing the meteor shower. The cluster of river glass caught his eye. "What is this?" the king inquired, his voice low. "These pieces of glass, they are not perfectly uniform like the rest of the metalwork." Amara knelt. "Your Majesty, that section is woven with the truth of the process. It is the moment where effort failed and acceptance began. The river glass captures the light of a moonbeam, imperfectly, yet wholly. It represents the friction, the suffering that teaches us how to truly see." The king smiled, a deep, knowing smile. He understood. The weaving was perfect because it contained its own failure, its own friction, transformed not into defeat, but into wisdom. Amara had delivered not just a curtain, but a profound lesson in the nature of reality. She had learned that true mastery lies not in eliminating error, but in navigating it with grace. The friction ceased when the attachment to a specific, rigid outcome dissolved. The suffering disappeared, not when the thread stopped breaking, but when Amara stopped demanding that the thread be anything other than what it was: delicate, beautiful, and prone to snapping. Now, let the image of Amara, standing weary beside the flowing river, settle into the quiet fields of your awareness. Her story is the eternal story of the human condition, the subtle, pervasive dissatisfaction that shadows even the most exquisite moments of success. This persistent state of unease, this friction against existence, is what the ancient teachings define as dukkha. Dukkha is often translated simply as suffering, but that translation is too harsh, too limited. It is not just the acute pain of loss or physical injury. More accurately, dukkha describes the fundamental unsatisfactoriness of all conditioned existence. It is the feeling that the chair you are sitting in is slightly too hard, that the moment of joy is fleeting, that the perfect piece of weaving will inevitably, eventually, begin to decay. Think of a poorly made wheel axle, squeaking and jarring as the cart moves. The friction between the axle and the hub causes heat and instability. That constant grinding is the essence of dukkha. Our minds, too, possess a grinding axle, the constant comparison between reality, what is, and expectation, what should be. When Amara demanded that the purple thread must behave perfectly, she created a rigid expectation. When the thread, being merely thread, failed to meet this demand, the reality grated against the expectation, generating the heat of frustration and the smoke of despair. This disparity is the birthplace of all suffering. The root cause of this friction is tanha craving, thirst, or attachment. Tanha is the powerful, instinctive urge to hold on to what is pleasant, to push away what is unpleasant, and to desperately ignore the impermanent nature of everything. In Amara's case, tanha manifested in three ways, which are the classical forms of craving. First, craving for sense pleasure. She craved the immediate pleasant feeling of smooth, effortless weaving. Second, craving for existence. She craved the continuation of her identity as the flawless master weaver, tied to the project's success. And third, craving for non-existence. When the beads scattered, she craved the non-existence of the mistake, the ability to erase the past. We often believe that if we just achieve the perfect circumstance, the perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect body, the friction will cease. We chase the perfect weaving, believing that the moment of completion will bring permanent satisfaction. But the nature of the cosmos dictates that everything changes. The moment the weaving is finished, it begins to age. The moment the celebration ends, the silence is felt more keenly. This impermanence, this constant flux, is not the enemy. It is simply the way things are. The river flows, the wind shifts. The suffering arises only when we use our mental energy to insist that the flowing river must remain perfectly still, or that the joyous moment must be frozen forever in time. As you lie here now, feeling the weight of your body settling deeper into the bed, notice the tiny areas of friction in your own experience. Perhaps it is the subtle irritation that the neighbor's dog is barking, or the resistance to the thought that keeps circling in your mind. This slight resistance, this subtle wish that things were otherwise, is the gentle hum of dukkha. When we understand dukkha, not as punishment, but as a universal characteristic of being, something profoundly shifts. The energy spent fighting reality can be redirected toward observing reality. Instead of saying, "I hate that the thread snapped," Amara learned to say, "The thread snapped. Now, What is the most skillful way to proceed? The shift is from judgment to practical wisdom. When we accept the inherent friction in life, the fact that things will break, plans will change, and moods will shift, we are no longer caught in the exhausting internal battle against impermanence. We stop adding the secondary layer of suffering, the mental anguish we inflict upon ourselves after the initial event occurs. The initial breaking of the thread is primary suffering, a fact of physics. Amara's subsequent rage, self-reproach, and despair are secondary suffering, the mental reaction driven by tanha. True freedom lies not in stopping the thread from breaking, but in refusing to pick up the tools of secondary suffering when it does. Let the breath deepen and soften, observing now how the understanding of friction begins to ease the tension you might unknowingly hold. You are safe here, lying in the quiet dark, observing the subtle dance between holding on and letting go. Consider the physical friction present right now, the pressure of the blanket against your skin, the contact point between your heels and the mattress, the faint, persistent noise from outside the window. If you demand that the blanket feel lighter or the noise disappear, you generate instant, small-scale dukkha. The moment you simply register the pressure or the sound, this is the weight of the blanket. This is the sound of the night the resistance melts. The teaching is not that you should enjoy pain or seek out discomfort, but that you should acknowledge the reality of the present moment without adding the commentary of judgment. Amara's great breakthrough was realizing that the flaw in the weaving, once accepted, became the most unique and beautiful part of the whole design. In your mind, friction often manifests as the desire to control the uncontrollable. Perhaps you worry about tomorrow, trying to mentally rehearse outcomes that are still fluid and uncertain. This mental rehearsal is the mind trying to weave a perfect, predictable future tapestry, knowing deep down that life operates its own unpredictable loom. Release the threads of tomorrow. Allow the future to remain unstitched, resting in the simple awareness that when tomorrow arrives, you will meet it with the same gentle, observant presence you cultivate tonight. You do not need to solve the problems of tomorrow in the stillness of this hour. The friction we experience internally, the self-criticism, the impatience, the feeling of not being enough, is often the deepest form of tanha. We crave a perfect self, a finished, polished, unblemished identity, and we suffer when our messy, flawed, human reality asserts itself. Let us try a quiet experiment now. Bring to mind a small, persistent flaw or habit you frequently criticize in yourself. Perhaps it is a tendency toward procrastination or a lapse in focus. Instead of pushing it away, invite it forward gently. Acknowledge it fully. Ah, yes, here is that familiar tendency. Do not try to fix it, judge it, or label it as bad. Simply observe it as a feature of the current landscape of your mind, just as Amara observed the snapped thread as a feature of the purple silk. When you cease fighting the flaw, the energy bound up in the struggle is released. The flaw remains, but the suffering caused by the resistance to the flaw vanishes. This is the profound alchemy of acceptance, friction transformed into peace. The work is not to achieve absolute stillness, which is impossible in a living body and a thinking mind, but to achieve stillness within the movement. To be the quiet, stable center, like the loom itself, while the shuttles of experience fly back and forth. As the final moments of this deep contemplation settle, let us anchor this teaching with a practical touchstone for your night. When you wake, or if you stir in the quiet hours, remember the lesson of the snapped thread. If discomfort arises, a pain in the shoulder, a worrying thought, do not immediately engage in mental struggle. Instead, name the friction simply, internally. Friction, a tightness in the chest. Friction, the mind is racing. By naming it, You create a space between the event and your reaction. You become the observer, not the victim. Allow the discomfort to simply be, even for a moment, without the added layer of wishing it away. This momentary pause is the beginning of non-resistance. Rest now, knowing that friction is inevitable, but suffering is optional. You possess the inner wisdom to meet every moment, perfect or flawed, with the grace of the master weaver who chose to illuminate the mistake rather than hide it. Let your body dissolve into the support beneath you, trusting the silence, trusting the flow. The quiet space we have cultivated together is not an end, but a gateway. It is the deep stillness from which true movement arises. We have walked the path inward, observing the self as a single, still point in the vastness. Now, let us gently turn our gaze outward, realizing that this single point is inextricably linked to the entire universe. The breath that sustains you is shared by the towering cedar and the flowing river. Feel the subtle vibration of this truth spreading through your chest. You are not separate. You are the fabric itself, woven into every moment, every sound, every silent space. This awareness softens the edges of our perception, preparing us for a simple lesson in profound, gentle unity. Let us turn our minds now to the story of the young monk Kōan, who lived many centuries ago in a small monastery nestled high in the mist-shrouded mountains of the east. Kōan was earnest, but often distracted. His mind was a busy marketplace, filled with thoughts of his chores, his lessons, and the inevitable comparison of his progress to that of his peers. He struggled most with the simplest of tasks, finding no great meaning in the sweeping of the courtyard or the patient tending of the small vegetable garden. One cool morning, the abbot summoned Kōan. The abbot was ancient, his face a map of quiet wisdom, and he rarely spoke more than a few words in a day. "Kōan," the abbot said, his voice like the rustle of dry leaves, "tonight, you will prepare my meal. It must be only one thing, a single bowl of rice. It must be perfect rice." Kōan bowed deeply, feeling a surge of pride and nervous energy. A simple bowl of rice. How difficult could that be? It was a common staple, cooked thousands of times daily in the monastery kitchen. He went to the kitchen, selected the finest grain, and began his task with haste. He scrubbed the rice quickly and set the pot over the fire, impatient for the water to boil. He rushed the cooking, turning up the heat too high, and when the steam finally cleared, the rice was scorched at the bottom, hard and brittle in the middle, and had burst into an unappetizing sludge at the top. Kōan sighed, frustration tightening his jaw. He threw the failed attempt into the compost and started over. The second attempt was too cautious. He used too much water and too little heat, resulting in a pale, watery gruel that lacked substance or flavor. The third attempt was better, but still far from perfect. The individual grains did not possess that unique, soft integrity that marks truly perfect rice. They clung together desperately, lacking definition. He sat back on his heels, the failing sun casting long shadows across the kitchen floor. He had wasted half the monastery's supply of rice for the week, and still, he did not understand the simple nature of the task. Kōan felt the familiar sting of impatience and self-judgment. He wanted to blame the pot, or the fire, or the quality of the water, but the quiet knowledge within told him the fault lay only in his approach. He closed his eyes and returned to his breath, seeking that centered quiet the abbot often spoke of. When his mind stilled, a thought gently arose. I must understand this rice before I can cook it. He picked up a handful of the raw grains, letting the tiny ivory pieces trickle through his fingers. Where did this come from? He realized that this simple grain had required the farmer's patient hand, bent low over the flooded fields, in the heat of the summer sun. The farmer himself required nourishment and rest, and the seeds he planted were the culmination of generations of cultivation and care. The growth of the rice depended absolutely on the warmth of the sun, radiating millions of miles to reach this tiny patch of earth. It depended on the rain, which had fallen from clouds, formed by mist, lifted from a distant ocean, carried by the invisible breath of the wind. Kōan looked at the water he was about to use. It was drawn from the monastery well, fed by underground streams that flowed down from the mountain peaks. The mountain peaks themselves were ancient, formed by immense geological forces deep within the earth, forces far beyond his immediate comprehension. He looked at the clay pot. It had been shaped by a potter whose hands had dug the specific minerals from the earth, mixed them with water, and fired them in a blazing kiln. The kiln required wood, harvested by a woodcutter, whose axe had felled a tree that had stood for decades, anchoring the soil and purifying the air Kōan breathed. The fire itself, which seemed so destructive, was necessary for transformation. The fire was light and heat, stored energy released back into the room. Kōan sat for a long time, not moving, simply observing the ingredients of his task. He realized that the preparation of this single, humble bowl of rice required the participation of the entire universe. The bowl held not just rice and water, but sun, rain, earth, human labor, the flow of time, and the patience of generations. His earlier frustration melted away, replaced by a deep and humbling sense of awe. This was not a simple chore. It was a profound interaction with the totality of existence. He began the fourth attempt, but this time, his movements were slow, deliberate, and infused with respect. He washed the rice meticulously, feeling the cool water slide over the smooth grains. He measured the water not by volume, but by instinct, knowing exactly how much moisture the sun-ripened grains required. He placed the pot on the small, controlled flame, listening to the gentle crackle of the wood and the subtle, changing sound of the water as it heated. He did not rush the steam, allowing the rice to swell and soften in its own time, contained within the warm stillness of the pot. When he finally lifted the lid, the fragrance filled the quiet kitchen, a warm, earthy, clean scent, the perfume of sustenance. The rice was perfect. Each grain was separate, yet soft, whole, yet tender, reflecting the light like tiny pearls gathered in the clay bowl. He carried the bowl to the abbot, placing it gently on the low table. He did not speak, but simply bowed and stood back. The abbot looked at the bowl for a long moment, then looked up at Kōan, meeting his eyes. "Tell me, Kōan," the abbot asked, picking up a single grain with his aged fingers, "who cooked this rice?" Kōan's initial impulse was to say, "I did," but the thought was instantly swept away by the realization he had just experienced. "Master," Kōan replied, his voice barely a whisper, "the sun cooked this rice, the rain cooked this rice, the earth and the farmer and the woodcutter cooked this rice, and I was merely present to observe the arising of the conditions." The abbot smiled, a deep, satisfied smile that rarely touched his lips. He ate the single bowl of rice slowly, savoring the universal ingredients, and Kōan understood that he had finally learned the lesson of interconnection. This story of Kōan and the bowl of rice offers us a profound teaching, a core principle of Zen awareness known as interdependence or dependent arising. It teaches us that nothing in the universe, absolutely nothing, exists in isolation. Everything is contingent upon everything else. Imagine a single drop of water on a lotus leaf. At first glance, it seems self-contained, a perfect sphere. But if you look deeply into that drop, you see the reflection of the clouds, the reflection of the sky, and the image of the leaf itself. If you remove the sky, the drop cannot be. If you remove the leaf, the drop disperses. If you remove the sun, which evaporated the ocean to create the clouds, the drop cannot form. The drop of water is made entirely of non-water elements, and this is the nature of reality. Consider the breath moving in and out of your body right now. It feels like your breath, a private process. But your breath is entirely dependent on the trees and the algae that produce the oxygen, and the atmosphere that contains it. If the trees cease to breathe, you cease to breathe. Your life is literally the continuing, shared respiration of the planet. This interdependence means that the boundary we often draw around ourselves, the skin, the ego, the individual consciousness, is an illusion of convenience. We are less like separate objects and more like whirlpools in a single, vast river. The whirlpool appears to be a distinct entity, but it is composed entirely of the river water and the river's conditions. When the conditions change, the whirlpool dissolves back into the flow, having never truly been separate from the water. This realization is deeply comforting because it removes the heavy burden of absolute individual responsibility and isolation. When we struggle, it is not simply your struggle, it is a manifestation of conditions arising within the universal flow. When you feel joy, that joy is amplified and supported by the millions of conditions that allowed that moment to arrive. Look down at the place where you rest right now. Feel the texture of the blanket or the sheet against your skin. That soft material is the product of cotton plants, cultivated land, water, spinning machines, weavers, and transporters. Your comfort is a gift from unseen workers and faraway fields. Your sleep is a benefit received from the entire web of existence. There is no need to grasp or hold on to things, because everything is already holding everything else. The practice of Zen teaches us to see the entire universe contained within a single action, whether it is washing a dish, walking across a room, or simply receiving the gift of sleep. You are the universe expressing itself as you, resting right here, right now, perfectly woven into the fabric of the night. Let this teaching settle deeply into your heart, calming any lingering sense of separation or aloneness. We have journeyed together through the landscape of the quiet mind. We began by simply noticing the anchor of the breath, that reliable rhythm that roots us in the present moment. We practiced the art of stillness, recognizing that true stillness is not inactivity, but the cessation of struggle against what is. We gently observed the stream of thought, learning not to judge or follow the passing clouds of the mind, but simply to let them drift by. We cultivated presence, understanding that the only time that truly exists, the only place where peace can be found, is this precise, gentle now. And tonight, we have expanded that presence to recognize the profound truth of interconnection, that we are not observers of the universe, but active, dependent participants in its grand and subtle dance. All the lessons gathered, the quiet breath, the accepting stillness, the non-judgmental observation, and the expansive awareness of unity, have led us to this final point of rest. You carry these understandings not as heavy concepts, but as a lightness of being. They are resources to be drawn upon, woven seamlessly into the tapestry of your subconscious, guiding you toward deeper, restorative sleep. The journey of awareness does not require effort or striving in this moment. It requires only surrender. Allow yourself to surrender to the wisdom of your body, which knows exactly how to rest, how to heal, and how to dissolve into the regenerative silence of the night. We now transition fully into guided rest, embracing the heavy, peaceful weight of your body. Feel the weight of your head settling deeply into the pillow beneath you. Let the muscles of your face become incredibly soft and relaxed. Release the tiny muscles around your eyes, softening the brow and the space between your eyebrows. Let the jaw unclench and fall gently open. Feel your shoulders drop away from your ears, releasing any lingering tension carried throughout the day. Your arms are heavy, resting comfortably, sinking down into the surface beneath them. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest and abdomen with each slow, rhythmic breath. There is no need to control the breath. Simply allow it to breathe you, a gentle, continuous wave of life flowing through your core. Focus your attention now on your legs and feet. Notice any residual tension lingering in the calves or the tightness in the soles of your feet. As you exhale, imagine that tension flowing out through your toes and dissolving into the spacious air. Your body is now entirely supported, heavy, warm, and sinking deeper with every passing moment. Acknowledge the silence surrounding you. Even if there are sounds, let them simply be part of the environment, not disturbances. The sounds are the universe singing its quiet, continuous song, and you are part of that music. As you drift now, visualize the concept of interconnection, not as a thought, but as a sensation. Imagine that your boundaries are dissolving, the line between your body and the mattress, between your breath and the air in the room, between your mind and the quiet of the night, is blurring. You are becoming one with the space you inhabit, a peaceful, formless awareness resting deeply within the universal flow. There is nothing left to do. There is nowhere left to go. There is nothing left to hold on to. Rest in the vastness of this interconnected reality, secure in the knowledge that you are held by the entire universe. Allow the quiet flow to carry you now, gently, deeply, securely, into the perfect, restorative darkness of sleep. Deep rest awaits you. Peace is yours. Sleep now.